Chapter 1. I am a flaming megalosaurus, Ikagudel. Human name, Jilin. According to my father, I am 5 years old this year. In human time, it is about 200 years old. In the 40th year of my birth, my parents helped me choose the place where I live now. This place is a few thousand meters below a volcano. I like it very much. It is red everywhere, which suits me very well. The temperature here can make me feel warm, and I can sleep comfortably here. There is also a red river below my cave. When I am bored, I can take a bath there. It is very good. Above the cave and on the surface of the volcano, there are many red creatures like me. They are very weak. Most of them do not come close to my cave. But there is a small humanoid monster with wings, who calls himself the flaming demon Battel. One day, Battel came to my cave. I was very happy, because since my parents left in the 50th year of my birth, I have rarely seen living creatures. My parents said that every megalosaurus has to grow up alone. One day, I will go to the Dragon Island to meet them. Battel said that he was originally the lord of the Gerda volcano, but he had never seen a creature as powerful and beautiful as me. He said that he would like to serve me as his lord and would do anything for me, but he hoped that I would shelter them. I refused, because I did not understand what he said at all, and I did not need these weak creatures to do anything for me. Until Battel said that he could build a castle for me in this underground cave. I heard from my father that the castle, the building where the human royal family lived, gathered the wisdom and skills of generations of human craftsmen, was the pinnacle of human architecture, grand, majestic, and beautiful. I agreed that Battel could ask for my help when he needed it. Hordes of red creatures came in and out of my cave. The cave also changed day by day. They were all my subordinates, that Battel said, and I understood that they were all my friends. My father said that the dragons were the most powerful race, and my mother said that other races should not be despised because they were weak. I felt that my mother's words made sense. Otherwise, wouldn't the dragon race be too lonely? During these years, I would occasionally fly into the sky and pass by human countries. I liked the feeling of the wind lifting me up. Every cloud would disperse as I passed by. Sometimes I flew lower to see the creatures on the ground. The wind that I created would occasionally blow away the fragile buildings of the humans. Those buildings were too fragile and unsuitable for living creatures to live in, so I helped them tear them down. It was no effort at all, just a slight change in the route of the ride. Sometimes I would inadvertently bring 1 or 2 people along with me, and they would be able to ride my wind and fly for a short period of time. Even I had to say that he was really lucky. As a human, it was rare to experience the joy of flying. Over time, humans began to call me the Red Calamity. I was amazed by the creativity of humans. What a cool title. After a long time, my castle was completed. Battel and the others named it the Red Dragon Palace. Even though I felt that the palace was too big, I allowed Battel and the others to live in the Red Dragon Palace. "Thank you, my kind lord," Battel said gratefully. "It's nothing. You were the ones who built it. Just leave the bottom floor to me," I said to Battel as I lay on the huge stone bed. It was strange. Battel was smaller than one of my knuckles, but he was the strongest among the creatures. The one called the lava giant looked even stronger. "Understood. We won't let anyone disturb you, Lord," Battel said. I didn't know what Battel was thinking to say that. Perhaps it was because Battel's brain was the most complicated of all the creatures, so he was regarded as their leader. I believe you. You may leave." I was too lazy to guess his thoughts, so I ended the conversation. Dozens of years after the Red Dragon Palace was built and I was called the Red Calamity, small groups of humans came to Mount Gerda. I didn't know what they were here for. Some of them died in the volcano outside before they even reached the Red Dragon Palace. If it weren't for the gems, gold coins, and weapons on them, I would have thought that they were here to commit suicide. I was too lazy to care about them. Mother said that we should respect life, but when they didn't cherish their own lives, we didn't need to respect them. Even the kindest and most merciful of the human gods, Mother Earth, wouldn't care about those who sought death. However, my father also said that there was no lack of experts among the humans. In one summer, a team of 40 humans came. According to Bat-Tel, they were really strong. There were 20 dragon knights, and a mage sat behind each of them. Each of the knights cooperated well with the small flying lizards they were riding on. The lizards could buff the knights, making them stronger and allowing them to cast magic. They worked together and looked like a whole. Bat-Tel and the others couldn't compare at all. Perhaps one knight couldn't defeat Bat-Tel, but when 10 knights and 10 mages worked together, Bat-Tel couldn't do anything to them. In the end, they got rid of all the obstacles. Although they were all injured, they all stood in front of me. I lay on the bed and opened my right eye that was facing them. The golden light illuminated the faces of the 40 people, and also the lowest level of the Red Dragon Palace. This red world was dyed with a layer of gold. My golden eyes were the only part of me that looked like my mother. "My lord, I am very sorry," Bat-Tel said as he knelt before me. However, he was too small and too close to me. Even if I looked at the lowest level, I wouldn't be able to see him. If I didn't move my head. However, I didn't want to move, so I ignored him and looked at the humans quietly. Not long after, a knight in white armor walked out of the group and bowed to me. "Great Holy Megalosaurus, I am the leader of the Dragon Knights from the Divine Dragon Empire, 'tis Lauren. First of all, I apologize for rudely trespassing on your home," 'tis said respectfully. The moment 'tis saw Jilin, he knew that he was the legendary Holy Megalosaurus. He definitely couldn't fight with him. Otherwise, the few of them wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between the dragon's teeth. As for the Empire's mission to suppress the Red Calamity, they had to plan for the long term. At the very least, they had to unite the legend-rank experts of various countries to have any hope. Humans, I see in you unity, manners, and friendship. Compared to ordinary people, I see in you the qualities of heroes. I am willing to give you a chance, as long as you leave behind your gold coins and gemstones. Then you can leave, I said. For some reason, I always like to leave treasures like gold coins and gemstones in my bedroom. Thank you for your tolerance, 'tis said. They put down their treasures and gold coins and prepared to leave. Wait a minute, you seem to have more on you. I looked at Tiz with my right eye. Tiz immediately tensed up. Great Holy Megalosaurus, those aren't my possessions. They are the secret treasures of our divine dragon empire. As an Imperial Knight, I can't give them to you, Tiz said. Heavens, I couldn't be bothered to talk to him. Normally, I didn't even care about Bat-Tel. I raised my finger and pierced Tiz's stomach with the tip of my finger. The tip of my finger came out from his back. Killing you with my own hands is my respect for human heroes. Tiz was hanging on Qi Lin's index finger, if it was a human hand. He coughed up blood and pieces of his organs. It was too fast. He couldn't react at all. He didn't even feel the pain of being pierced. He was about to lose consciousness due to excessive blood loss. Captain! His team members shouted. Let's go. We'll risk our lives to save Captain, someone said. No, you idiots. Don't come over. Run. Run. Tiz roared. Tiz took out a cloth bag and threw it at his brother. Bring back the Knight's Key. For the divine dragon empire, for the glory of the knights, Tiz said. He didn't have the strength to shout anymore. However, his comrades heard him. They repeated their captain's words and roared. Their captain's words echoed throughout the entire Red Dragon Palace. Bring back the Knight's Key. For the divine dragon empire, for the glory of the knights. Let's go. They turned and ran towards the door. They didn't look at Jilin again. However, their eyes were filled with hatred and anger. Why? Is it worth it? If you leave the item behind, you will be able to leave safely. If you don't, you will all die. The item will also be left behind. I extended my hand in front of me and looked at Tiz. This isn't a question of whether it's worth it or not. We have to do this. Even if there's only one of us, the Knight's Key will definitely return to the Divine Dragon Empire. This is a knight's responsibility and glory. You will never understand, Tiz said with his last breath. It's a pity that none of you will be able to escape. I looked at Tiz and said calmly. The knights and mages who ran to the door climbed onto their flying dragons. However, no matter how hard the knights urged the flying dragons to stay motionless on the ground. This was of course because I was here. Moreover, I had already opened my eyes. How could those lowly creatures fly in front of my eyes? The team of dragon knights who had lost their flying dragons had no chance of returning to the ground from the bottom of the Red Dragon Palace. Even if Jilin was only watching, they could only die in despair, or die heroically together with their leader. Fire Snake Dance, Frost Domain, Spatial Slash, Berserk Wind Blade. The mages released rank 7 and 8 spells one after another and landed on Jilin's body. Without the support of the dragon, the knights couldn't use magic. They could only raise their swords and roar as they charged towards Jilin. I looked at them charging towards me without fear and releasing magic to attack me. I knew how brave they were, even if they couldn't hurt me at all. Humans, I commend your courage. Let me use my dragon's breath to purify your souls and express my respect. May the dragon god bless your souls. I flicked Tiz into their team and released the strongest magic that every dragon knew, Dragon's Breath. After the dragon's breath, the nearby ground and walls became transparent and colorful. It looked incomparably hard. That was the crystallization caused by the extremely high temperature. On the beautiful ground, there was nothing but a metal cube emitting an intense white light. It was all vaporized by the high temperature. The remaining one must be the Knight's Key. I set it on the roof of my room. It was a special place for my many treasures. I returned to my bed and closed my eyes. Although the Knight's Key's light was intense and illuminated my entire room, it didn't affect me because my eyes were also very bright. Will I never understand? Maybe. Chapter 2. After the incident with the Dragon Knights from the Kingdom of the Sacred Dragon, it had been a long time since humans came to the Red Dragon Palace. Ever since I discovered that the dragon's breath could turn the ground and walls into rainbow-colored transparent stones, I decided to turn the entire lowest level of the Red Dragon Palace into this. My entire bedroom became rainbow-colored and transparent. The lava below glowed red, while the Knight's Key above shone with a holy white light. The two lights reflected each other in the air, and were reflected by the glass. The scenery was dazzling and enchanting. I was satisfied with the results of my labor. Even I felt that it was dazzling and sparkling. There was no need to mention Barter and the others. Seeing this scene, they were so excited that they couldn't control themselves. They were full of admiration. With my permission, they named my bedroom the Chaos Temple. I originally thought that the Rainbow Temple would be better, or the Rainbow Glaze Temple would be fine too. Either would be more appropriate. But Battel convinced me. He said that this scene was like the ancient times of chaos. The lights of heaven and hell reflected each other and collided fiercely in the colorful world. There was also the holy Megalosaurus soaring in the sky. Everything was so chaotic and beautiful. So he named it the Chaos Temple. I thought it was great. This description suited Battel's human brain very well. Pretentious. Just like that, after my bedroom was renovated, everything was peaceful. I lay on the lava and slept. Every time I slept, every time I woke up, I could clearly feel that I had become stronger. I felt that it was not too far away from the day my father said I would go to the Dragon Island. I missed them very much. But there was a good human saying that 9 out of 10 things didn't go your way in life. If it was a dragon life, it might have been more. I wanted to stay in the Primal Chaos Temple with Barter and the others. I wanted to stay quietly with them, until I could go to the Dragon Island on my own. But then that woman appeared and ruined everything. Her name was Aisha. She appeared in front of me so suddenly that Battel and the others didn't notice. Even I didn't know how she passed through the upper level of the Red Dragon Palace and appeared in front of me. I was very curious, so I didn't kill her immediately. I just looked at him quietly. Aisha was stunned by the scene in front of her. A huge red sacred megalosaurus was staring at her with its golden erector. Its golden light overshadowed the white light of the magma and the Knight's Key. Aisha was bathed in golden light. But the light in the temple could shine on Jilin. In Aisha's eyes, Jilin was covered in red scales. His lower body reflected the red light of the magma, and his upper body reflected the holy light of the night. There was also a small but not negligible seven-colored light. He looked like the dragon god in the ancient legends, which was the symbol of natural disasters. So beautiful, so powerful, so ferocious, Aisha was a witch. She was beautiful, sexy, and intelligent. In this human society where the Church of Light was the mainstream religion, the profession of which was definitely hated by everyone. But Aisha used a high-profile black witch robe to stir up trouble in this world. She was very ostentatious, but she never failed. Everyone who heard of her wouldn't say that she was a good person. The best portrayal of her was that she would do anything to achieve her goal. But even the Church of Light wouldn't deny that she was a great witch, because her bounty had always been much higher than other witches. She came to the Red Dragon Palace this time for the ultimate spell of which that she had always been pursuing, to obtain the power of darkness. If she could achieve her goal, she might be able to subvert the Church of Light. But the witches' cultivation method was the most bizarre. They learned knowledge, collected materials, and sacrificed the materials to the god of darkness to obtain power. Outsiders called it a deal with the devil. The spell that Aisha learned this time required mostly unheard of materials. With Aisha's ability, she only collected half of them after traveling the continent for 100 years. One of the remaining materials was the scale of a red dragon. Aisha collected a lot of information about the red dragon, but either the grade wasn't high enough, or there were too many things that she couldn't do. Until she heard about the red calamity, so she came. After she came, she calmed down and regretted it. Greetings, esteemed Megalosaurus. I took the liberty to visit, please forgive my rudeness, Aisha said. She didn't have the confidence to escape. She was also afraid that acting rashly would anger this obviously bad-tempered creature in front of her. She could only communicate with him and act according to the situation. I seemed to have some impression of this at the beginning. That's right. 'Tis said the same thing when he came. State your purpose for coming, human, I said. Aisha thought to herself, I can't say that I'm here for your scale, right? Wouldn't you immediately turn hostile if I said so? Esteemed Megalosaurus, I have long heard of your name. The red calamity has been passed down by word of mouth among humans. I came here to make a deal with you, Aisha said. Of course, Aisha had heard of the red calamity. Word of mouth was also true, but she had never heard of the legendary divine Megalosaurus. Aisha now hated those who didn't tell her the whole story. It was like you wanted to catch a gorilla. You were fully prepared. You bought a sturdy net and a tranquilizer gun. You felt that everything was foolproof. All that was missing was a gorilla. Coincidentally, someone told you that there was a gorilla on a dangerous island. Then, you paid a high price and directly crossed the island's dangers. You brought the net and the gun to the gorilla. You looked at the gorilla that was as tall as a mountain. Apart from thinking about how to survive, you were definitely thinking about how to kill the person who told you about the gorilla. What can a weak human like you have to trade with me? I said. For 'tis sake, I said a few more words with him. The only thing I can trade with you is my information. I believe that you will be interested. In the Simai Empire, there was a famous princess named Staya. She was a rare beauty, and the next saintess of the Church of Light. Her benevolence spread throughout the empire and the church. There were countless treasures in her palace, Aisha said. From what Aisha knew, Megalosaurus were very interested in human princesses and treasures. Looking at the dazzling temple and the various gold coins and gems piled in the corner, Aisha felt that this rumor might be true. Human, I think you are insulting me. I raised my finger. Aisha's hair stood on end. She thought to herself, I was tricked by rumors again. No, you are wrong about me. I just want to tell you a way for treasures to come to you by themselves. Then, I guarantee that you can lie down and sleep on the gold coins and gems. Aisha made a final struggle. Since you are not interested in a human princess, you should be interested in treasures, right? Your wisdom saved your life, human. I was tempted. Since 'tis, there were very few humans who came to the Red Dragon Palace to commit suicide. This caused my treasures to grow very slowly. Also, sleeping on gold coins was a very tempting suggestion. As long as you bring Staya here and imprison her, I guarantee that there will be endless warriors and heroes sent by the Empire. At that time, your treasures will also increase, Aisha said. I hesitated for a moment, feeling that this plot was familiar. The dragons in the stories that my father told me were all killed because of this. And the people who killed them were the heroes of heroes, the brave ones. Did they steal the princess because they wanted to collect treasures? Although this was a way to save effort. Otherwise, wouldn't it be embarrassing for the dragon race if they went around plundering? I felt that I could understand the feelings of the seniors of the dragon race. But this wasn't the main point. The main point was that as long as I caught the princess, I would be able to see a human who could defeat the Megalosaurus, the brave ones. Just like what my father said, most humans were not worth mentioning, but there were a few who could shock us dragons. 'Tis was like that. He wasn't strong, but he had touched me. Then, what about the brave one at the peak of the human race? I was very curious what kind of person he would be, and I looked forward to meeting him. What do you think? Aisha saw that Red didn't speak for a long time, so she asked. Not a bad idea, I'll take it. You can die now. I raised my hand and said. This human seemed to have finished what she wanted to say. Letting her finish what she wanted to say before she paid the price for trespassing into my house was my respect for her intelligence. In an instant, Aisha's chest was pierced through. I retracted my index finger, and she fell to the ground. I wanted to burn her into gas to clean the ground. But she stood up. I was really curious. This was the first human who could survive my attack. She floated on the ground, and black smoke came out of her body. A witch? Mother said that witches were followers of the god of darkness, and the god of darkness was a god that even the dragon god found strange and difficult to deal with. It was strange, but I still had the confidence to kill the human in front of me, whether she had the protection of the god of darkness or not. Just as Jilin was about to attack again, Aisha quickly said, "Wait a minute." I stopped. I said that for her intelligence, I was willing to let her finish what she wanted to say before she died. You can't catch Staya like this because her country will resist. If you display overwhelming power, kill her people, and destroy her country, then she will not be able to do anything. Then you won't get a living princess. Every royal family has the self-awareness to die for their country, Aisha said hastily. She understood that there was no chance for her to struggle. Her body was huge, but she was as agile as any creature. She couldn't escape. Even the renowned witch Aisha could not resurrect an unlimited number of times. If she wanted to live, she had to show her value. What you said makes sense. Then, do you know what to do? I thought for a while and asked. His mother was right. There was value in listening to intelligent humans. I can turn you into a human temporarily, Aisha said. You should die, I said. Would you turn a human into an ant? Chapter 3. After a fierce struggle in my mind, I accepted Aisha's suggestion. Because of my father, I was very curious about this race that was able to dominate the continent even though their strength wasn't outstanding. In this world, humans occupied the majority of the land, lived in the center of the world, and occupied most of the resources. They squeezed the living space of other races into the corners of the world, struggling at death's door. I already knew that there were many races in this world that were stronger than humans. For humans, they were naturally gifted, such as the dwarves, the beastmen, the elves, and so on. I decided to understand this race, This race that wasn't strong but still dominated the continent, this race that knew they were going to die but still raised their swords and roared as they charged at me. Now, this was an opportunity. What could be more efficient and interesting than turning into a human to understand humans? Aisha didn't know what Jilin was thinking. She only thought that Jilin agreed to her suggestion because it would be easier to collect treasures. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that she survived. Although Aisha briefly described the plan, it didn't mean it would be simple. The problem was the first step: how to turn the holy megalosaurus into a human form. Although witches had the habit of turning humans into frogs and other animals, it was not easy to turn a megalosaurus into a human. It was a painful price to pay, even for someone like Arisa, who stood at the pinnacle of the witches. If Aisha hadn't collected more than 100 years of materials to learn the ultimate curse, then she wouldn't have been able to complete the great ritual of turning Jilin into a human. Aisha thought to herself, I came here from thousands of miles away and even died once just to collect the red dragon's scales. In the end, not only did I not get the scales, I also lost dozens of items. I really suffered a double loss. Aisha took out the dark scripture. Referring to the dark scripture, she drew a huge magic circle on the ground. Many precious materials were placed in different positions of the magic circle. Jilin entered the magic circle, and Aisha chanted an indescribable ancient spell. The magic circle began to emit a dark purple light. It became brighter and brighter, until it became a huge dark purple pillar of light that shot straight into the sky. The light beam pierced through the Red Dragon Palace's barrier and shone through the ground. Even the human cities far away could see it. After a long time, the light of the magic circle gradually weakened until it finally dissipated. Aisha exhausted too much energy and sat down on the ground. Her vision was blacking out, but she didn't dare to muddle through. She wanted to see the final result of this dark ritual. This was the first time she had used this ritual. Although she was confident, she wasn't completely sure. She knew that if she failed, she would be doomed. Aisha stared at the magic circle. Suddenly, she heard footsteps coming from the depths of the magic circle. The light of the magic circle had not completely dissipated, and Aisha could not see through the light of the dark ritual. She waited. A person walked out of the array, completely naked. He looked like an ordinary human 15 or 16 years old youth with delicate features. Thank you, human. I swear in the name of Ik Gyudal that you will never be in danger again. You can be my servant, my companion, and live as you please in the Red Dragon Palace. I sensed my new body. He looked at the woman in front of him and said excitedly. Aisha looked at the red hair and golden eyes of the young man in front of her. Is this considered a success? That was Aisha's last thought before she fainted. Aisha was unconscious for 5 days. During this time, Battel gave me a set of human clothes. I didn't know where he found them. I looked at the bloodstains on the clothes and gathered the fire element to make a similar one for myself. Why would I wear human clothes? Lord Divine Megalosaurus, how long have I been unconscious? Aisha asked the red-haired young man next to her after she woke up. Human, you've been unconscious for 5 days. Thank you for letting me experience the human body. I recognize you as my companion. You can call me by my human name, Jilin. Tell me your name, I said. My name is Aisha, Jilin. Megalosaurus bodies are indeed strong. Even a ritual of this level can't completely change the characteristics of a dragon, Aisha said, looking into Jilin's eyes. She cared more about the effects of her curse than how she addressed me. 2 days later, Aisha was my first human companion. She lived in the Red Dragon Palace for 2 days. During this time, she met all kinds of monsters in the eyes of humans. They didn't attack humans as they usually did when they saw them. Since she was my companion, she was their companion. They were curious and careful with Aisha. Aisha had never experienced this kind of thing before. She was reluctant to leave the Red Dragon Palace even when we were about to depart. Aisha, hurry up. You can stay in the Red Dragon Palace for as long as you want after we return. I looked at Aisha. She hadn't finished drawing the small magic formation for a long time. I thought she didn't want to leave this place. She didn't even take this long to draw the magic formation that trapped my body a week ago. Jilin, if you don't want us to be teleported to another place, don't rush me, Aisha said bluntly. I obediently shut my mouth. This woman seemed to be more arrogant after knowing that I wouldn't kill her. What was that black book you were holding earlier? It seemed very powerful. I suddenly remembered that she had taken a book when she was drawing the magic formation. Okay, let's go. Bring more gold coins and listen to me when we get there. Aisha ignored me and continued talking. Then, Aisha and I walked into the magic formation together. A dark purple light flashed across the room. When I opened my eyes again, the scenery in front of me was completely different. We weren't far from a huge wall. Even if we were 1 or 2 kilometers away from the wall, we could still hear the noise of humans. That was the capital of the Saimai Empire, Xingming City. Just as I was admiring the human city, Aisha was suddenly wrapped in light. When the light faded, she was wearing white clothes. Aisha said that it was the Church of Light's bishop uniform. When she wasn't using her identity as a witch, she had always been active in the Church of Light. She was a proper bishop of the Church of Light. She had put in a lot of effort for this position. At that time, I didn't know what it meant for a witch to be a bishop of the Church of Light. I didn't think much about it. Aisha led me to the city gate. There was a long line at the gate. I had never seen so many people. I was curious about all of this. When we arrived at the gate, the guard saw Aisha's outfit and hurriedly said, "Greetings, Bishop of Light. Please show your identification." Aisha smiled and gave a badge to the guard. Her current posture was really like a compassionate and respectable bishop. No one would have thought that she was the #1 witch who wanted to overthrow the Church of Light. Good acting, I thought to myself. The guard took the token and walked for a while before returning. "Welcome to Xingming City, Bishop Aisha. May I ask who this is?" The guard returned the token to Aisha while looking at me. "This is the child of my relatives in the countryside. I brought him here to show my identification," Aisha said as she stopped me from talking. "Okay. I wish you a pleasant journey, Bishop Aisha." "Red-haired boy," the guard said. I angrily walked into the city with Aisha. That rude guard. If I didn't have things to do, I would have killed him with my finger. "Who is your relative?" "Little girl, do you know how old I am? Are you taking advantage of me?" I asked Aisha in a low voice. "Who told you to look so young? No one would believe you." Aisha wasn't afraid at all. After talking with Bat-Tel, she already knew Jilin's personality. I was speechless by her words. I was indeed underage in the dragon race. After walking in the city for a while, I thought I understood why humans could occupy the continent. It was probably because of their ridiculously large population. Just the number of humans in the city in front of me was comparable to the entire dwarf race. It was dozens of times more than the elves. As for the dragon race, it was needless to say. My father said that there were only a few hundred true dragons, but Aisha said that there were more than 1,000,000 humans in Xingming City. It was a sad story for the dragons. Aisha brought me to the center of the city. Everything I saw and heard along the way was beyond my imagination. 1,000,000 people living in a city in an orderly manner. In this world, besides humans, only the dwarves could do this. There were also many beastmen. However, once the number of beastmen in a tribe reached 10,000, they would start killing each other. Because they didn't have enough food, they didn't farm like humans. At the same time, they believed in the law of the jungle. Those who were eliminated were the weak, and those who were left were the strong warriors. However, humans didn't think this way. Perhaps some people thought this way, but human society didn't allow them to do so. Humans had beliefs and laws. They advocated eliminating the strong and helping the weak, respecting the old and loving the young. There was a huge difference in their thinking. That was what I thought. In the center of the city was a church. It was the largest church in the Simai Empire, the Church of Light. It was the holy place in every Church of Light's heart. Of course, that didn't include Aisha. Aisha brought me to make an identification card, and I received a card. My name was written on it, and there was also a picture of me engraved on it. Then Aisha brought me away. If it wasn't necessary, she wouldn't want to stay here any longer. She had walked by the water for so many years without getting her shoes wet. Besides her intelligence, she was also extremely careful. We found a place to stay. The humans called it a hotel. Listen, Staya will participate in the ceremony to become the saintess in a month. The palace is in the east of the city, and the church is in the center of the city. This journey will consume a lot of manpower. We will wait for them to finish their preparations, and Staya hasn't come out of the palace yet. At this time, there will be the least number of people in the palace. We will teleport in front of Staya. You will transform into your original form and catch her. Then, we will lift the roof of the palace and fly away with the princess in front of everyone. We will give the Church of Light a big slap in the face. Haha. Aisha told me her evil plan. Chapter 4. Aisha and I had been in Xingming City for almost a month. During this time, I had seen a lot. Human food was delicious. Although I didn't need to eat, I still thought so. Humans were very loyal to their desires. They tried their best to improve their quality of life. Before coming to the human city, I couldn't imagine that one kind of fish could be eaten in dozens of different ways. Each way had a different taste, and each way was delicious. However, it wasn't just fish that were persecuted by humans. Humans had crazy appetite. They ate everything. They wanted to eat everything. I heard that humans thought that the best ingredients were dragon liver and phoenix marrow. These disgusting, ugly, crazy humans. The humans here killed other creatures to satisfy their appetite. They didn't think that the food in front of them was also life. They sacrificed their own lives so that humans could survive. Humans didn't have a grateful heart. They didn't respect other life. Humans thought that everything was born to support them. Arrogant humans. Maybe it was because they had been the mainstream of the continent for too long that caused humans to be blindly arrogant. They thought they were the best. They looked down on other races. They thought that dwarves were a bunch of idiots. Only blacksmithing was worth praising. They thought that beastmen were a bunch of wild beasts. They weren't even considered barbarians. They thought that the blood race was a group of low-level creatures that hadn't fully evolved. They were parasites that couldn't survive without humans. They thought that they were the best of the world. They had no respect for other races. As a dragon, I couldn't understand this arrogance of humans. If it was really like what humans said, everything was born to support humans, then why did the heavens support you? I didn't know. But I knew that the pigs, cows, sheep, and other creatures raised by humans rarely had good endings. I spent most of my time in this hotel. Because Aisha said that my golden eyes were too eye-catching, I could only wear a veil and walk on the streets occasionally. I wanted to see human society. A month was too short for me. However, living in a human city for a month was different. I felt that it was very long. I came into contact with many new things. I understood humans better. So it was time for the saint to take over. Our plan started today. On this day that the weather was too good, Xingming City welcomed the day of everyone's attention. The sunlight made the white Xingming City even more dazzling. It was as if the God of Light was watching them. The road of the Divine King between the palace and the great Church of Light was specially filled with soldiers today to clear the road. Although it wasn't that it didn't bring any trouble to the people's lives, the people didn't complain at all. This was because they had gathered on both sides of the road, squeezing together and releasing great enthusiasm. Most of the people who had good seats at the front had reserved them 1 or 2 nights in advance. The night was cold and frosty, so it was very tiring. Just to be able to have a better look at this once-in-a-century event. The short lifespan of humans was less than 100 years, which made them particularly enthusiastic about things that were said to be hard to come by in 100 years. This was because humans hoped that at the end of their lives, they would feel that they had lived a worthy life. He hoped that he could make his life more exciting. The shorter one's life was, the more desperate they would be to survive. It had to be said that humans knew how to enjoy life better than dragons. The crowd pushed forward, and the soldiers blocked the front to maintain order. Although they were having fun, the main character of the day had yet to come out of her bedroom. Perhaps she would not be able to walk this path today. I thought as I looked at the people below the hotel. Everything is ready. Let's go, Aisha said. Aisha and I entered the magic formation. The magic formation glowed and then covered us. Tia was in her bedroom getting ready for her wardrobe. She took off the princess costume and changed into the saintess costume. She had prepared for a long time for this day. She was the only princess of the Saimai Empire, and her virtuous reputation was spread far and wide among the human empires. Even so, the path to becoming a saintess wasn't easy. She had put in a lot of effort for this, and won against many of her opponents. Today's arrival proved that her efforts were not in vain. Your Highness, you are so dazzling today. I think even your wedding day couldn't compare, the princess' personal maid said. Aunt Mecca, don't joke around. Who can marry the saintess of the light? Ordinary princes can't, Staya said with a smile. Mecca was Staya's mother, the queen of the Saimai Empire, who had been brought over when she married into the royal family. She had grown up with the queen, and they were like sisters. After Staya was born, she had personally taken care of her. To Staya, Mecca was like a mother. My daughter, I am very happy to see you like this, but my heart also hurts. The saintess of the light has a high position, but it is a heavy responsibility. Her burden is no less than my position as the king. That shouldn't be my lovely daughter's burden, the king said. He knew that saying this wouldn't change anything, but he couldn't help but nag. Looking at his daughter who was about to leave the house to work, all fathers were the same. It didn't matter if you were the saintess of the light, or the little girl who worked in the bakery. Your Majesty, if you continue to disturb us, our saintess will chase you out of your palace, the queen said. At times like this, women were always more resolute than men. All right, daughter. You know that I support you and believe in you, the king raised his hand and said helplessly. Father, this is my choice, my wish. You don't have to worry. I want to become the saintess, and show the way for all the light believers. Let more people believe in the light. I want to achieve the beautiful world described in the Holy Book of Light. Staya placed her hand on the Holy Book of Light, as if she was making an oath to the king. The Church of Light had two divine weapons, the scepter and the Holy Book. The scepter was controlled by the Pope. The Holy Book was controlled by the saintess. The two had the same status. The ceremony later was that Staya would hold the Holy Book in her hand and walk into the church under everyone's gaze. She would announce the ownership of the saintess to the world. Oh, I am so touched. My daughter, if you have any difficulties in the future, just come to me. It's not far away. You don't have to be too polite to the Pope. If you are bullied, I will ask your brother to lead the army and tear down the church. The Empire will always be behind you, the king said emotionally with tears in his eyes. Father, Staya said angrily. We can understand the feelings of an old father who is sending his daughter away, but slandering the Pope in front of the future saintess and saying that he will tear down the church? Even if you are the king, and have a good relationship with the Pope since you were young, isn't this a bit too much? The queen said. The king felt wronged and stopped talking. Everything was ready. Staya walked towards the church with the Holy Book in her hands, accompanied by her father, the queen, and Aunt Mecca. Just as the group walked to the hall at the entrance of the palace, a purple light appeared on the ground between Staya and the palace gate. Protect the Empire, the knight captain roared. He reacted quickly and led the guards to stand in front of the royal, forming a human wall. The king did not panic too much. First, he had been in a high position for a long time, so he was able to remain calm in the face of danger. Panicking in the face of danger would not help at all. Only by being calm and daring could they increase their chances of winning. Second, they were the strongest warriors and mages in the continent. They were confident that they could destroy any enemies in the palace. After the strong purple light flashed, two people appeared out of thin air. They were naturally Jilin and Aisha. I sized up the palace. I wondered if Bat-Tel and the others were slacking off. The Red Dragon Palace was obviously far from this place. The timing is really good, I said to Aisha as I looked at the humans in front of me. They just happened to walk in front of us. Easy. Chapter 5. Less than 2 seconds after I praised Aisha, the palace guards in front of me rushed towards me without saying a word. The palace mages were already chanting their spells, and their target was naturally us. The rumored princess also raised the Holy Book of Light, and holy light illuminated the entire hall. There was no conversation, no greetings, and none of the classic scenes in the stories my father told me. In those stories, when someone suddenly appeared in front of an important person like the king, his subordinates would always ask a question or two, such as, "Who are you? Why did you suddenly appear? What do you want?" Or something like, "Back off quickly, or I'll kill you without mercy." This was great, they didn't say anything and just started fighting. The introductions I secretly practiced for the past few days were useless. Just as I was thinking about how useless my introductions were and doubting my father's stories, a fire snake bypassed the guards and arrived in front of me first. This was the standard fighting style of humans. No matter what it was, they would test the waters with magic first. The huge fire snake pounced towards me, opening its mouth that was 3 times larger than my current height, as if it wanted to swallow me whole. Unfortunately, it was a fire snake. The fire snake seemed to have hit a black hole 2 meters in front of me. The fire snake that was 2 meters in front of me disappeared without a sound. When I was in my human body and didn't activate my golden eyes, my absolute control over the fire element was limited to a 2-meter radius around me. After living in a human city for a month, I understood how special this red-haired, golden-eyed creature was. Thus, I began to study this human body. I discovered that as long as I controlled the dragon's energy under Aisha's spell, I could completely eliminate the dragon's characteristics and turn them into black hair and black eyes. For this reason, I suppressed the dragon's energy by more than 1,000 times. If I used all my energy, as long as I wanted, no one would be able to use fire magic in my field of vision. No matter who it was, they would have to admit that it was shocking that a 7th-rank fire snake's dance could disappear without a sound. However, the guards didn't waver in the slightest. They still resolutely rushed in front of me, disregarding life and death. Although they were advancing resolutely, their formation wasn't messed up at all. The soldier at the front raised a huge shield and slammed it towards my face. On both sides of him, there were 2 soldiers holding swords and stabbing towards me. It was a good tactic. The 2 attackers on the left and right formed a triangle formation. The huge shield in front could block the enemy's line of sight and block most of the enemy's attack route. It was obvious that they were well trained, and their cooperation was perfect. I praised in my heart. I clenched my right hand into a fist and casually threw a punch at the giant shield. With a loud bang, the giant shield and the guard behind him were sent flying. The swordsman on the left was also knocked over. The giant shield-bearer coughed up a large mouthful of blood. It looked like he had no strength left to stand. Even if I weaken my power by 1,000 times, I'm still an overwhelming existence to humans. The fact that he didn't die immediately meant that I was controlling my power very well. The swordsman at the side seized the opportunity to close in on me the moment I punched out. His timing was perfect, but it was still useless. The dragon race's body was huge, but in the eyes of humans, they were not clumsy. The reason was that the dragon race's reaction speed and agility were dozens of times faster than humans. I easily dodged his sword. I spun my body and kicked out my right leg. The swordsman was split into 2 at the waist. His internal organs and blood formed a perfect fan shape, splattering onto the silver-white stone ground. Additional magic, power of the war god. The head knight roared. He roared as he jumped towards me with great force. He raised his sword and slashed at me. His body flashed in the air. Gold, yellow, cyan. Power of the war god, protection of the earth god, blessing of the wind. It was obvious that the mage thought that an additional magic was not enough to defeat me. Wise decision. The head knight's speed and strength increased greatly. The long sword whistled as it fell. Kill! The head knight roared, his eyes fixed on me. His sword's trajectory was very straight, so it was easy to predict. I reached out and grabbed his sword. He obviously didn't think that his attack would be blocked by someone's bare hands, and that someone would be able to grab his sword barehanded. He was shocked by the strength of the person in front of him, but he didn't retreat. Behind him was the Saimai Empire. Alarm! The head knight roared as he tried to snatch his sword back. After this short exchange, he understood that this person wasn't someone that the soldiers here could deal with. He needed more people. Even if there would be rivers of blood, he would protect the Empire at all costs. The alarm immediately sounded, echoing throughout Xingming City. It startled all the pigeons in Xingming City. The palace is under attack. Quick, follow! The soldiers on the street shouted after hearing the alarm. The people didn't crowd together anymore. They all rushed to leave. The soldiers rushed desperately towards the palace. Priests and bishops from the Church of Light also rushed over. The head knight's experience told him that it was not a good idea to be in a stalemate with the enemy in this situation. He should give up his weapon and escape before making other plans. But now he was the head knight of the Empire. He had a group of reliable companions. He only needed to stall the enemy for a moment. A black arrow flew past the knight's shoulder and landed on my shoulder. A skinny warrior about my height scuttled behind me. He held two short swords in his hands and stabbed towards my back. The arrow bounced off the moment it touched me. The short swords couldn't move an inch either. Whirlwind, a rank 2 low-level magic. There was a tornado around me. It blew the head knight and the assassin away. They spun and rushed towards the wall. Even if it was a low-level magic, it was still powerful in my hands. I opened the Book of Light. Holy light enveloped the head knight and the assassin. They stopped before they hit the wall. Rank 10 Magic Blizzard. The spell that the mages needed to chant for a long time was prepared during this time. The range of this spell was originally larger, but their target was only Aisha and I, so they narrowed the range and made it more powerful. After all, it was a rank 10 magic. I couldn't dodge it and was trapped in place. Rank 10 magic, Heaven's Punishment. One of the mages was chanting a lightning magic spell. Bolts of lightning flashed out of his magic staff and landed on my body, causing sparks to fly. I put my hands in front of me. With my current body, it was a bit difficult to resist a rank 10 magic. Forbidden Spell, // It was the strongest single-target forbidden spell that required 5 mages to chant together. Even a dragon's body wouldn't be unharmed. I closed my eyes. When I opened them again, a golden light flashed and my hair turned from black to red. Heaven's Punishment and Blizzard dissipated in an instant. I reached out and crushed the // The 7 mages fainted from the magic backlash. My palm was a mess of flesh and blood. I looked at my hand and was stunned. This was the first time I was injured since I was born. Humans didn't have scales. Their defense couldn't be compared to a dragon's body. Humans could actually hurt me. Good, to reward you, I am willing to be your enemy. Aisha, where did you find such a strong warrior? What are you doing today? Staya suddenly said. I didn't expect you to recognize me. Aisha took off her disguise and changed into her witch costume. You are the only one who can use spatial magic to teleport directly to the palace. After all, this isn't a barren mountain without a protective spell. Staya said. Warrior, what did Aisha promise you? To let you break into the palace with her. I promise in the name of the Saintess that as long as you leave, I will let bygones be bygones." Staya looked at me and said. She was saying those classic lines now. But I wasn't in the mood to play along with her introduction. My father and mother said that if a dragon bleeds, it must pay with its life. The soldiers outside the palace and the people from the Church of Light rushed to the entrance of the palace. Just like what Staya said, Aisha's identity was obvious. To those who broke into the palace, identity wasn't important. It was a death sentence. She said those words to stall for time. It was obvious that she succeeded. The king walked forward. He had already changed into a silver armor. "State your intentions," the king said in a low voice. "We didn't plan to communicate with you." I walked straight on. The power of the empire. It is stupid to be the enemy of the king in the palace. The king raised his sword. The entire palace seemed to be responding to the king. The silver palace shone brightly. A huge magic circle covered the entire palace. The king now had the power of the empire. He was fearless. Every citizen of the Saimai Empire in the palace was strengthened by the power of the king. All kinds of magic were released. Although they were strengthened, dragons had magic resistance. Magic below the 9th rank was useless. The mages who could release magic above the 10th rank were lying on the ground, receiving treatment from the priest. The soldiers rushed forward. They were as fierce as the people who wanted to watch the ceremony. Although their desire to protect the empire was not inferior to the Knight Commander, their cooperation was far inferior. Plus, I used all my strength. I took a step forward and appeared in front of a soldier. I punched him in the stomach. He flew back at an extremely fast speed like a cannonball. I blasted a path through the crowd. Everywhere I passed, bones were broken. There was a whistling sound behind me. A heavy sword was moved aside. I grabbed the wrist of the person who was holding the sword and tore it off along with his arm. I used my heavy sword to cut through the crowd, creating a storm of blood. The blood dyed the heavy sword and the silver-white palace red. Suppress. The king saw that the soldiers were heavily injured. He held the sword with both hands and knocked on the ground. A huge shadow appeared in the palace. It shrank rapidly. Finally, it covered Jilin's body. Now, Jilin's body was several times the weight of the palace. If it was a normal person, they would have been crushed into a pile of minced meat. Jilin roared to the sky, revealing the true god of the dragon race. He broke through the power that was suppressing him, and broke through the palace. The dragon's roar drowned out the alarm in the palace. He raised his wings to the sky. With a swipe of the dragon's claws, a palace collapsed. With a sweep of its tail, it brought about a hurricane that destroyed countless shops and residences. No matter how strong a person's will was, they couldn't control themselves. They were so shocked that they didn't know what to do. Year 165 of the Light Calendar. The red calamity descended on the sacred city. It should have been a day filled with holy light. But the holy light was covered by red. Blood dyed the silver palace red. Light Calendar. Chapter 6. The dragon came from the clouds, and the tiger came from the wind. With the appearance of the megalosaurus, the weather naturally changed drastically. The enormous energy of the dragon race greatly interfered with the environment. The huge fire element instantly caused the surrounding elements to become chaotic. The sky was covered with blood-red clouds that seemed to be as heavy as lead. Red lightning flashed in the clouds from time to time. As Jilin flapped its wings, a hurricane blew in Xingming City. It was a scene of doomsday. The red clouds became heavier and heavier, pressing closer and closer to the ground. The red clouds pressed down on the city, threatening to destroy it. No one knew if the armor would shine and the golden scales would spread. The red clouds pressed down on the city, pressing down on everyone's heart. However, it was not only the heavy blood clouds that were pressing down on everyone's heart, but also the megalosaurus in front of them. Head Knight organized the lower-level soldiers to evacuate the people. Let the people leave the city first. Quickly. At this juncture, the king was the first to calm down and make a prompt decision. Yes, sir. I will go and return as soon as possible. I have never fought with a megalosaurus before. Your Majesty, you must wait for me. The head knight immediately accepted the order and turned to leave. He did not say anything about protecting the king and dying with him. Whether the empire could survive or not was another matter. The most important thing now was to protect the safety of the people. After ensuring the safety of the people, it did not matter if the head knight wanted to endure the humiliation for the sake of the future, or if he wanted to be loyal and die for the country. He could do whatever he wanted. Ha! Warriors, prepare for battle. The survival of the empire depends on today. The Simi Empire has stood on the continent for more than 100 years. The country is prosperous and the people are peaceful. We have never fallen behind other empires. Who would have thought that a disaster would befall us today? If the empire is destroyed today, it is because of bad luck, not because of war. You can't blame me or anyone else here. However, I hope that everyone can protect the last dignity of the empire with me. We will launch the fiercest attack against the enemy and buy time for the people to evacuate. Protecting the people of the empire is the responsibility and mission of the king and the warriors. Perhaps we will all be wiped out today, but our glory will be passed down in the continent. Everyone, please fight with me. Long live the empire! The king stood on a piece of rock and shouted. He gave a final speech to his warriors. Long live the empire! Every soldier roared in response. I watched in silence as the human king gave his speech, stirring up the simple-minded soldiers, who were not afraid of death. This was the first time he had seen such a scene. But if humans were to describe it, it would probably be like this. There was a type of person who could make you willing to die for them. That was called charisma. Seeking advantages and avoiding disadvantages, being greedy for life and fearing death were the instincts of all living creatures in the world, including the dragon race. 4 living beings with self-awareness, the end of their self-awareness and eternal darkness were the most difficult and unacceptable things to accept. Everything else was insignificant. However, humans could actually make people forget this instinct for a short period of time. This was truly an amazing thing. Humans were really complicated creatures. But even for humans, killing their biological instincts wasn't something that could be done overnight. They had a perfect education system, which influenced the minds of humans from a young age. Only humans had such sayings as giving up one's life for the sake of righteousness and death being heavier than Mount Tai. The other races were not as specific as humans. Humans would also write interesting stories for young humans to tell them how to be a human. Most of these stories had no evidence and the content was ridiculous, but most humans believed them without a doubt. In the human story, a group of antelopes were chased by a pride of lions. They panicked and ran to the edge of a cliff. Behind them was the pride of lions. However, the cliff on the opposite side was 10 meters away, and the antelopes could only jump 7 meters. So, some of the antelopes sacrificed themselves. A pair of antelopes walked to the edge of the cliff. One jumped first, and the other followed closely behind. At 7 meters, the antelope that jumped backward stepped on the back of the antelope in front and jumped again. So, one antelope jumped to the other side alive, and the other fell off the cliff. So, the rest of the antelopes followed suit. In the end, half of the antelopes survived, and the tribe continued. The first time I heard this human story from my father, I felt as if 10,000 antelopes had run through my heart. What kind of idiotic story was this? Were those antelopes really antelopes? Were they really not some other species in disguise? One antelope jumped in the air and stepped on another antelope's back? What kind of difficult maneuver was that? The human acrobats called it a trapeze that was 1 level less difficult than this maneuver. Your tribe's use of this method to escape was truly courting death. If there was really an antelope herd that could do this, it would probably be easy for them to deal with a small pride of lions. Besides, even if this plan succeeds, half of the antelopes will die. There are only a few lions in the pride. Even if you stand there motionless and let the lions take one each, it might not be as good as letting your own people step off the cliff and fall to their deaths. And those lions, did they chase the antelopes from afar just to watch the show? Did they just watch the antelopes jump out in pairs? Were they stunned by the antelopes courting death? Were they not hungry anymore? Finally, where did such a free human come from? You watched the lions chase the antelopes, and you followed them? Then, you were lucky enough to see this scene that you hadn't seen in thousands of years? Why didn't you mention at the end of your story whether the lions that didn't eat the antelopes turned around and chased you? You've been following them all the way. I'm very curious. However, the main point of the human story wasn't the illogical details that I was struggling with, but the spirit of the antelopes sacrificing themselves for the continuation of their tribe. According to this story, the people who left the city were the antelopes that jumped to the other side, and the soldiers in front of me were naturally the ones that fell off the cliff. If these soldiers all died here, then in human words, the people outside the city would be stepping on the corpses of the soldiers to leave the city. Humans were really pretentious creatures. The human mind made it so that they wouldn't doubt the stories they heard since they were young, even if it was full of loopholes. Because doubting it might mean doubting their parents, teachers, and even the great sages of the human race. Therefore, things that I couldn't understand were natural in the eyes of humans. Now, the human soldiers were charging at me. Countless arrows fell like raindrops. Perhaps they knew that dragons had magic resistance, so they didn't use any magic this time. It seemed that they were smarter than the magicians in Tiz's team. The humans attacked me. They weren't even as tall as one of my fingers. Even though the difference in strength between us could be seen even by the antelopes that loved to do acrobatics, they were still fearless under the encouragement of their leader's charisma. I let the arrows land on my body and bounce off powerlessly. I waved my hand over the heads of the soldiers. I didn't even need to touch them. Just the wind created by the wave of my arm was enough to make them sway. Human, you should know that this is only making your soldiers bleed for nothing. I was in a good mood after watching the king's speech. Plus, the humans had also died. It was a price to pay for my dragon blood. I was willing to communicate with the king and listen to Aisha so that the humans wouldn't bleed so much. Thus, I spoke to the king. The blood of the Empire's soldiers will never be shed for nothing, the king said without hesitation. I could tell that he was very familiar with this line. He didn't think when he responded to me, as though it was an instinct in his blood. Prove it to me, I said. The difference in strength was obvious. I didn't know what the king could do to stop me. What gave him the confidence to say that the blood of the soldiers wouldn't be shed for nothing? With a boom, a cloud of smoke exploded on my body. I could feel something touch me. It was a human cannon that had been fused with the craftsmanship of the dwarf. There were many doors. Although it looked powerful to the humans, it still couldn't cause me any harm. That's not enough, I said. I know. Rise, the king said loudly. The first sentence was for me. The second sentence was for the mages who had yet to make a move. The magic array that enveloped the entire Xingming city rose, dispersing the thick blood clouds that had gathered in the sky. Holy light once again descended upon the Xingming city. Every human city had a powerful magic array protecting it, not to mention the capital of the Saimai Empire. This holy light array was created by the Saimai Empire and the Church of Light. It was more than 10 times stronger than the magic array that enveloped the palace. All the holy light gathered above Jilin. The holy light array's strongest single attack, Holy Sword. A huge white sword of light flew towards me from above. I wanted to block it, but its strength was far beyond my expectations. It actually knocked me to the ground. I wanted to get up, but I couldn't. Golden light shone in my eyes. The intense light was like 2 small suns. I roared. Draconic magic, end of fire. The huge sword of light and the entire holy light array burned. End of fire was a magic that directly burned the elements. It caused all the elements to temporarily turn into fire elements, and the fire elements were under my control. The huge magic array disappeared, and the sword of light was burned to ashes. I stood up from the ground and held onto the roof of the palace. I looked at the humans in front of me. I was too careless. I didn't think that a human could cause me so much damage. I estimated that I would need to sleep for 4 to 5 months to recover. It seems that this is the end, the king said. He raised his sword and charged towards me. Your Majesty! Follow His Majesty! Father! Stop His Majesty! With the king's charge, the soldiers, who were caught in the sudden change of events, were finally thrown into confusion. There were those who didn't know what to do, those who wanted to protect the king, and even more who wanted to die with the king. I felt the king's clear intention to die. I waved my arm, and the strong wind knocked the king down. He rolled backward a few times. Human king, although your subordinates have died, that is the result of me holding back. I don't want to go on a killing spree. You should be able to feel it. As long as you let me take the princess away, I swear in the name of Ekagudel that I will leave immediately and never hurt this human country again. I was a little tired, so I decided to tell him my purpose. At the same time, I grabbed Staya and held her in my hand. I swear in the name of the king that I would be happy to. However, if I were a father, I would say that you can take her away if you kill me, the king said emotionally. He rushed towards me again. Your Majesty, please don't. You are not only a father, but also a king. You taught me that although this identity is honorable, it is also a great responsibility. Now that the empire is severely damaged, it needs you to lead the people and rebuild the empire. As the princess and saintess of the empire, I have the responsibility to sacrifice for the empire and protect the people. Your Majesty, remember what you said. Remember your responsibility as a king, Staya said hurriedly when she saw her father rushing towards me. The king stopped. He knew that his daughter was right. At this time, the empire and the people couldn't leave him. This was a wise decision, but it was painful. It might be worse than death. Ekagudel, you will bear the anger of the humans and the revenge of the empire. Under the blood clouds that had gathered again, the king, who was wearing silver-white armor that was covered in dust and holding a long sword, stood in the half-destroyed palace and pointed at the gigantic red dragon. Tears streamed down his face as he spoke his heroic words of vengeance. Chapter 7. I silently looked at the king for a while. All right, if you can do it, then give it a try. I, Ekagudel, promise that I will never harm Staya and ensure her safety. We will live in the Red Dragon Palace under the volcano in the west. Come, human, I said and flew away with Staya, no longer lingering in the ruined king's city. The blood clouds in the sky also disappeared with my departure. Light the beacon and inform the human kings. I want to convene a meeting of the kings. The king said to the knight captain who had rushed back. But, Your Majesty, the meeting of the kings hasn't been held for a few hundred years. If we suddenly gather the kings this time, it won't have a good effect. The other kings won't care about us. Let's send messengers to persuade them one by one and ask them to gather here, the knight captain said. Enough, there's no need to discuss this anymore. Look at everything in front of you. We are the strongest empire of the humans, but our capital is being destroyed. The lives of our people are being threatened. Other than sacrificing the lives of our warriors, we can't do anything. The princess of the empire was taken away by force in front of everyone. This is a disgrace that has never been seen before. This is a disgrace to the empire, a disgrace to the humans. I don't have the time to bargain with them one by one. I don't have the time to ask them to listen to our opinions and agree to our conditions. This isn't a conflict between the human countries, this is a disaster for the entire human race. No empire has the strength to fight against the red disaster alone. If the humans don't unite, they will be slaughtered. Light the beacon immediately. If they don't come, then don't say that we didn't warn them. Anyway, the Red Disaster has already promised that it won't harm the Saimai Empire anymore. No creature on the continent will doubt the promise of the Megalosaurus," the king said with red eyes. And so, the ancient beacon in the Saimai Empire was lit. There was no beacon in the distance. Instead, the moment the beacon was lit, all the ancient beacons were lit. Everyone was shocked. Most of the ancient beacons were in important cities of the humans. Because they represented the orthodox inheritance of the humans, they witnessed the history of the humans, the unity of the ancient humans and the help of the various countries. But they were also abandoned by the humans for a few hundred years. They were only for the humans to visit and remember the deeds of the ancestors and learn the history of the humans. It also showed that humans had not been united for hundreds of years. There were also a few ancient beacon towers in the wilderness, which proved that the former human cities were no longer suitable for human habitation after some great changes. Divine Dragon Empire, Your Majesty, just now the ancient fire beacon was lit. A soldier rushed into the palace and hurriedly reported. What? Who ordered it? The king of the kingdom of the sacred dragon, the hero king, stood up and asked. From the legends, it should be the Western Saimai Empire, the soldier said hesitantly. The ancient beacon fire had not been used for hundreds of years, so the current humans naturally could not be sure. That should be right. Immediately call the Dragon Knight Captain and the Chief Mage to see me. The king confirmed his guess, and at the same time called his right-hand men. The Hero King had not been having an easy time in recent years. Back then, the Divine Dragon Empire's first emperor relied on the power of the Megalosaurus to sweep through all his enemies. He had obtained the title of Hero King with his supreme combat strength. From then on, the kingdom of the sacred dragon had a smooth journey and stood tall among the other countries. Later generations of emperors relied on the wealth accumulated by their ancestors. Although there had been some twists and turns, it could not be said to have shaken their foundation. Until a few years ago, when the kingdom heard of the legend of the Red Calamity, the upper echelons of the kingdom thought that the people's ignorance had exaggerated the power of the dragon. After all, the real Megalosaurus had not appeared for many years. Therefore, they sent out the kingdom's strongest warrior, the previous Dragon Knight Captain Thetis, to bring his team to scout for information. If they were lucky, they might even bring back a wild fire dragon. The kingdom of the sacred dragon had a unique feeling for anything with the word dragon in it. The result was not good. They had thought that this was a surefire plan, but they suffered a double loss. Thetis brought his team and never returned. One of the 3 keys of the kingdom, the Knight's Key, was lost just like that. Compared to the Knight's Key, the fall of the Dragon Knight Captain, the strongest warrior of the kingdom, was not a loss. The Divine Dragon Array could not be activated without one of the 3 keys of the kingdom. That was a magic array on the same level as the Holy Light Array. It enveloped the entire capital and was the kingdom's last resort. It was also the greatest asset that their ancestors had accumulated. If the Holy Light Array was the combined effort of the kingdom and the Church of Light, then the Divine Dragon Array was the combined effort of the kingdom and the Megalosaurus. In the end, he lost it just like that. Originally, the other 2 keys could sense and find the other one. But for some reason, not long after they left the western territory of the humans, they could no longer sense them. This worried the Hero King to the bone. The white hair on his temples had also increased, and he looked much more haggard. If this thing was really lost, it would be impossible to find it again. What face would he have to face his ancestors after his death? If his descendants really needed the Divine Dragon Array, wouldn't they point at his grave and curse him? The Hero King pondered over this matter every day. Today, the beacon had suddenly been lit, and it was the Western Saimai Empire that had lit it. He immediately linked the 2 matters together. The beacon had not been lit for hundreds of years. How many empires had risen and fallen during this period? Dynasties changing? In other words, even if the Saimai Empire was destroyed, he would not or should not light the beacon. Because if it was only his empire that was destroyed, it would not affect the other countries. If he lit the beacon and asked the other countries to help him, who would care about him? They were all waiting for him to be destroyed as soon as possible so that they could get a share of the spoils. Lighting the beacon could only be a matter that could threaten the survival of the entire human race. It required the entire human race to unite and overcome the difficulties together. What could make the sagely king feel that it could threaten the entire human race? If he had known, humans would have dominated the continent long ago. It had been difficult for them to find an opponent for hundreds of years. They were so lonely that they could only kill each other. In the past few hundred years, the number of people killed by humans was much more than the total number of people of the other races combined. The hero king felt that the sagely king would not joke about this matter. He was a wise monarch, a cunning old wolf who seemed honest. It was better to say that none of the monarchs of the 5 great empires were easy to deal with. If he felt that the human race could be destroyed, then even if the human race was not destroyed, they would at least be severely injured. Furthermore, Tis had led 20 dragon knights and 20 magicians to the west. This force was more than enough to wipe out a small country. But when they went to the west, they disappeared without a sound. Not a single person survived. These two matters were definitely related. The hero king concluded. Your Majesty, the dragon knight captain and the chief magician had arrived. The two of you get ready. Bring the dragon knights and the court magicians. Follow me to the Simai Empire to attend the meeting of the monarch. The human race's difficulties have come, the hero king said. Yes, your Majesty. The Middle Empire was just like its name. It was located in the center of the entire human race. For the other races, the center of the territory must be a harmonious and prosperous place. It was the center of the entire race. But for the humans who liked to kill each other, this position meant that they were surrounded by enemies. It occupied the most fertile land of the humans and bore the greatest pressure of the human empires. It had the strongest power of the human empires. Your Majesty, the ancient beacon has suddenly been lit. It was the Simai Empire that lit it. According to our spies, the holy Megalosaurus, who has not appeared in the world for many years, has descended upon Xingming City and captured the holy maiden Staya, a soldier reported to the king. The Middle Empire bordered every human empire, so it must have its own intelligence system in each empire. The other empires, due to various reasons, were indeed inferior to the Middle Empire in this aspect. The holy Megalosaurus? How are the casualties in Xingming City? The Golden King asked. According to our people, the casualties are not heavy, the soldier replied. Yes, summon the royal guards and go to Xingming City to see the situation, the Golden King said. Yes, your Majesty. The soldier accepted the order and left. Your Majesty, from the current intelligence, the holy Megalosaurus does not seem to have any ill intentions towards the humans. Otherwise, Xingming City would have suffered heavy losses. Perhaps the Xingming king only lit the beacon because he wanted to rescue the holy maiden. It seems that we do not need to get involved and become enemies with the holy Megalosaurus, the Grand Secretary said. You don't understand. Do you know why the humans first united? The Golden King asked. I do not know. To slay the gods. The Grand Secretary was stunned. In the ancient times, there were gods who claimed that they created the humans. Actually, to the gods, they were not bad to the humans. However, they hoped that the humans would completely obey their will and develop under their leadership, just like how some controlling parents educate their children. The power of the gods was absolute to the humans. However, the humans loved freedom. No one could stand being ordered around by someone who could kill you at any time. It was like having a knife on a person's neck that could fall at any time. This was different from the emperor killing people. Although the emperor also claimed to be able to decide the life and death of a person with a single word, he still had to convince the people. However, the gods were different. They could kill whoever they wanted and then say that it was for the good of the human race, the Golden King said, ignoring the Grand Secretary's reaction. And then the humans killed the gods? The Grand Secretary asked. Yes. However, in my opinion, the humans killed the gods not only because of their desire for freedom. More importantly, the gods had the power to threaten the entire human race. Just like how our empire has the most resources of the human race, but has been suppressing the speed of development to maintain a lead over the other empires. However, we cannot destroy the balance of the other empires. This is because once the other empires feel a fatal threat, they will definitely attack us first. They will not let us have an absolute advantage in strength and achieve a dominant position. The humans will not allow something with an absolute advantage to stand above them, because then the humans will live in the shadows. However, the humans love the sunlight. They will pull down the thing that stands above them and kill it. Right now, that divine Megalosaurus has the power to become the shadow above the humans, so if there is a chance, we should kill it first before it becomes a shadow. The Golden King clenched his fist. Every time the beacon was lit, it was the world's test for the humans. It was the arrival of a disaster for the humans. However, every time this happened, the humans would always unite and put down their hatred. In the face of disaster, the humans would always win and overcome the difficulties. This has always been the case. Will we still be able to win and defeat the disaster this time? No, we will definitely win. Chapter 8. Ik Goodale, why did you invade the humans? With your power, you can't be under the witch's control. I don't understand. What do the humans have that makes you want to do this? Staya asked in Jilin's hand. You can call me Jilin, human. I just took the suggestion of this intelligent human, Aisha, to bring you back to the Red Dragon Palace, I told Staya. I had experienced the power of the humans, but I still thought that it would be difficult for them to save the princess from me. I guessed that Staya would live with me for a long time. It was my suggestion, but I didn't ask you to make such a big commotion. I guess everyone knows your power now. Which idiot will come to you to seek death? I asked you to capture the princess and leave. I asked you to flip the roof of the palace, not the entire sacred city. Aisha said in a hurry. Otherwise, it would be bad if no one came to the Red Dragon Palace to trouble Jilin. I don't think so. Humans are an arrogant race. There are so many of them that they can be seen everywhere. They are so common, but among the billions of humans, every single one of them believes that they are different. They think that they can do what others can do, and that they can do what others can't. What an unreasonably arrogant person. I believe that there will be humans who think that they are destined to bring me treasures. After all, the princess is in my hands now. The temptation of fame and wealth is fatal to humans, I said confidently. Forgive me for being blunt. The arrogance of humans you mentioned is the confidence that every human has infinite possibilities. As the saintess, even if she was imprisoned, she couldn't let Jilin look down on humans. Oh? You really believe that every human has infinite possibilities? But you don't believe in the possibilities of other races. You look down on other races from the bottom of your heart. Isn't that arrogance? I suddenly thought of a good idea. Let's spread the news that the princess is willing to marry the person who saved the princess. What do you think? Then there will be an endless supply of human males. Aisha interrupted their argument. Good idea. No wonder there are only a few intelligent humans, I said. Staya was so angry that she couldn't speak. Aisha, no matter what, you are still a human. How can you be an accomplice to a villain? They actually helped the Megalosaurus to harm humans. Staya took a while to catch her breath. First of all, I was trying to save my own life, so I had no choice. Secondly, the Church of Light doesn't treat us witches as humans. No matter what kind of heinous crimes a human has committed, you've always executed them with a single slash. Even if you call them sinners, they're still humans. Killing them is just a matter of nodding your head and letting them suffer less. But when you persecuted us witches, You put us on the fire and roasted us alive. Now you're telling me that I'm a human? Aisha said mockingly. Staya was speechless. Although she was the saintess of light, she couldn't deny the truth. You're right. Humans are naturally cruel. If they treat their own kind like that, they won't do the same to other races. You captured the water tribe and suffocated them to death. Then, you didn't respect their corpses at all. You cut them open, boiled them, and fried them. It's just like the hell in your legends. It's inhumane. Aisha's words resonated with me. So, I criticized the cruel humans together with her. Staya and Aisha were silent. Staya thought that it did make sense. Were humans that cruel in the eyes of other races? Aisha thought to herself, I didn't see you eating less at that time. It was difficult to communicate across races. Xingming City. It had been over a dozen days since the Red disaster had left. The royal palace was still severely damaged, but most of the residential streets had been repaired. Humanity's ability to heal itself after a disaster was still quite strong. That was how resilient humans were. No matter how big a disaster was, it couldn't destroy humans' will to continue living and their courage to move forward. Just as the citizens and soldiers were busy repairing the capital, some Xiao dots appeared in the distant sky. They flew toward Xingming City with the alarm. As the black dots got closer, people could see them clearly. They were hundreds of flying dragons. There was a dragon knight on each dragon. There were dozens of golden spaceships beside the dragons. The huge pressure could be felt clearly from the ground. However, most of the citizens and soldiers looked up and continued with their work. A few days ago, they even saw the holy Megalosaurus. The royal fleet of the Middle Empire was nothing compared to the dragon knights of the Holy Dragon Empire. Golden King, Hero King, I didn't expect you to come so soon. The Xingming King came out to welcome him. It wasn't the time to be extravagant. After all, the palace hadn't been repaired yet. The ancient flame hasn't been lit for hundreds of years. How can we not take it seriously? The Golden King said matter-of-factly. That's right. This probably has something to do with the Holy Dragon Empire, the Hero King said. Is that so? Enter the palace. According to the scouts at the front, the Iron Blood King and the War King will be here soon. After all, the two of them didn't fly here as fast as you. I didn't expect that the 5 great empires of the human race would all be here when I hurriedly gathered all the kings, the Xingming King said. The result this time was better than he had expected. The Hero King and the Golden King followed the Xingming King through the palace with a few guards. Looking at the severely damaged palace, they could imagine the intensity and pain of the war. They could also imagine how wise it was to put the damaged palace here and help the citizens repair their homes first. They could win the hearts of the people and maintain the morale of the soldiers. After this incident, not only did the Saimai Empire not fall into chaos, but they were even more loyal to the Xingming King. After all, they didn't run away in the face of an unstoppable force. Instead, they followed the soldiers and protected the citizens without fear of sacrifice. After the disaster, they selflessly helped the citizens repair their homes. No one could say anything against such a king. If one didn't serve such a king, who else would they serve? You really live up to the name, Xingming, the Golden King said in admiration. The Xingming King didn't say anything. The day his daughter was taken away was still fresh in his mind. His daughter was right. This country needed him. This was the king's responsibility. He couldn't let the people and his daughter down. Suddenly, a loud noise came from outside the palace. It was easy to recognize the sound of heavy cavalry advancing. What was the other sound that could drown out the sound of heavy cavalry advancing? Your Majesty, the Iron Blood King and the War King have arrived, a soldier reported. When multiple human emperors were present at the same time, they had to address each other by name. The Iron Blood King and the War King, who were wearing blood-red armor, entered. I heard that there is a divine Megalosaurus? How strong is it? The War King asked impatiently as soon as he entered. The entire continent knew that the War King liked to fight. As soon as he entered, he inquired about the strength of his opponent. Unlike other empires, the other empires needed you to have charisma and the ability to govern the country. The more perverted ones even needed you to kill a few of your own brothers. That was because the emperor needed to be ruthless. The Nanshin kingdom didn't need that. They just wanted the best fighter. The continent thought that the War King of each generation was simple-minded and militaristic. It was strange that the Nanshin kingdom could survive for so many years. In this regard, the Nanshin kingdom said that the wisdom needed to fight was great. Let's go to the king's temple, the Xingming king said. Every imperial palace had a king's temple for the human kings to use for diplomatic meetings. It was a standard feature of every palace, but its real function was to be a place for the kings to meet. Oh, an open-air king's temple. Not bad. The War King spoke first after the kings took their seats. War King, my daughter was taken away by the Red Disaster. My country has been devastated. I'm not in the mood to listen to your jokes, the Xingming king said, suppressing his anger. In this tense period, he could only reveal a little of his true emotions in front of these people. Then hurry up and tell us what the plan is. Let's get rid of that bullshit Red Disaster together and take back Staya. Then we can all go do what we need to do, the War King said without hesitation. We need to understand the enemy's strength first. My previous Dragon Knight Captain Tiz may have died at the hands of the Red Disaster, along with a group of 20 Dragon Knights. When he died, he didn't even make a sound, the Hero King said. We don't know the enemy's full strength right now. I can only say that the enemy took a full blow from the Holy Light formation, but he didn't seem to be hurt at all. He even destroyed the Holy Light formation easily. We lack the means to fight the enemy head-on, the Xingming king said. Even if they lacked the means to fight the enemy head-on, none of the human kings said that they shouldn't worry about him, as long as he didn't come out again. For the kings who had always been in high positions, they couldn't allow a dangerous weapon that could destroy the capital of an empire to fly around the continent. This would cause their country and its people to live under constant threats that could come at any time. Have you heard of a moving city? The Iron Blood King, who hadn't said a word since entering the palace, asked. The Snow Wind Empire was at the northernmost part of the human territory. On the vast ice plains, it could be said that it was on the same level as the dwarves. It was said that humans rejected other races, but the Snow Wind Empire and the dwarves were definitely exceptions. Of course, it was the same for the elves. The elves were worshipped by the entire human race. The Snow Wind Empire's capital, Wind Moon City, didn't have a holy light formation like the Xingming City, but after hundreds of years of development, Wind Moon City was transformed into a moving city by the dwarves. This shocked the entire continent. Who doesn't know this? What? Did you bring Wind Moon City here? The Hero King said. The Iron Blood King didn't say anything and looked out the window. The kings followed his gaze and walked to the window. The War King didn't move. He saw it when they arrived. Outside the Xingming City, a black city with 8 giant steel legs stood in the north. The second moving city, Iron Armor City, the Iron Blood King said. Chapter 9. With this kind of power we might be able to fight against the Red Disaster. With our help we have a good chance of winning, the Hero King said. No, Iron Armor City looks powerful, but that's only to humans. To the Red Disaster, it's just a moving pile of steel and stone. The Sacred King stopped the Hero King's naive thoughts. Those who had never seen it with their own eyes could not imagine the power of the Red Disaster. Moreover, human weapons were only produced to attack humans. No matter how powerful a weapon was, it was hard to say how effective it would be against the Megalosaurus. Just like the Holy Light Array. Iron Armor City is different from Wind Moon City. It's a product of Mobile City technology. It's made of the hardest stone and steel in the ice field. It's a powerful weapon. After hearing the Sacred King's words, the Iron Blood King, who had always been a man of few words, said so much. He was confident in his weapon. It's not that I'm trying to boost the morale of others, the Sacred King retorted. Even my magically enhanced palace was destroyed so easily. In terms of sturdiness, how can Iron Armor City compare to a magically enhanced palace? The Iron Blood King stopped talking. Iron Armor City was indeed incomparable to the Saimai Empire's palace, even if it was built for war. A human like Tiz could hardly damage the Empire's palace with a full-force attack, but if he slashed at Iron Armor City, he could at least cut a stone or two. We can add the War God array to the entire Iron Armor City, the War King suddenly said. The Nanshin Kingdom was famous for their iron cavalry. They fought with the southern wilderness orcs all day long. Those orcs were so strong that they could throw a bull with one hand. Heavy cavalry was naturally no problem. However, the War God array unique to Nanshin Kingdom could strengthen the cavalry and increase their quality without affecting their agility. The cavalry charged like boulders rolling down the mountain, easily tearing apart the orcs' defense line. But that will increase the energy consumption. The battle won't last long, the Iron Blood King said. Leave the energy problem to the Middle Empire. If we have the support of the dwarves' technology, we should be able to install the Heart of Gold on Iron Armor City, the Golden King said to the Iron Blood King. Seeing the golden warships flying in the sky for so long, it was obvious how excellent the Middle Empire's energy system was. How is it? The Iron Blood King looked at the Xingming King. If we ask the Pope to engrave the Holy Light formation on Iron Armor City, we might have a chance of winning. The Xingming King finally relented. Then, what can we do? The Hero King asked. That's amazing. When the fight starts, have 100 wyverns stand in front of the Red Disaster and cut them down one by one. When that happens, the Red Disaster will definitely be enraged and lose its composure. We'll take advantage of the opportunity to swarm in and win in one strike, War King said with a grin, revealing his white teeth. Yes, there is. The reconstruction of Iron Armor City is a huge project. If we have the help of the Flying Dragons, we can greatly reduce the time required. Unfortunately, the Dragon Knights will have to suffer, the Sacred King said to the Hero King, ignoring the Battle King. The other kings also wisely chose to ignore it. While the Iron Armor City is being renovated, the Red Disaster might get bored and come out. What should we do? He didn't say that he wouldn't move until we find him for revenge. The War King's words hit the nail on the head. We need to find something for him to do, said the Xingming King. We can also collect information, the Iron Blood King said. Send the adventurers to their deaths? The Hero King asked. They say they're adventurers, but they're actually a bunch of jobless people who do everything. They escorted the caravans, explored the ruins, and stole the treasures of the rich. Can these people do it? The Xingming King asked. In the past, that was indeed the case. That's why I propose that the 5 empires establish an adventurers' guild. We'll hold this power in our hands. The country will review it, issue missions, set the adventurers' level, improve the promotion system, and recognize the adventurer's social status. The Golden King said a lot in one breath. It was obvious that this idea had been in his mind for a long time. Yes, within a year, all the major human cities will establish an adventurers' guild. At the same time, the reconstruction of Iron Armor City will be carried out. It will be completed within 10 years, the Iron Blood King said. No problem. Then it's settled. After the various kings made the decision, they all went their separate ways. It wasn't good for them to stay in another country's capital. The Iron Blood King left Iron Armor City behind, so he could only ride on the Golden King's boat. The Hero King left behind the Dragon Knights and returned with only a few riders. After the Adventurers Guild is established, immediately issue a mission to find the Knight's Key. But do it wisely. Don't say it's the Knight's Key. Don't let the other empires know, the Hero King said. Yes, the Knight Captain replied. Seems like you've been planning this for a long time, the Iron Blood King said to the Golden King. That's right. Although the empires didn't go to war before, Their relationship was very tense. It's unrealistic to expect all the empires to agree to this proposal. The adventurer system is only implemented in a small area, so it's meaningless. It's all thanks to this meeting. The Golden King had already achieved one of his goals. But is it okay to expose such a big trump card like Iron Armor City? The Golden King asked. As an emperor, it's impossible to only have one trump card. If everyone knows all of them, then it's time for you to die, the Iron Blood King said with a smile. Your Majesty, what do you think of this meeting? The captain of the guards asked the War King. Damn, not a single one of them is easy to deal with. The War King was a little depressed. Why? The sagely king, despite the country's sudden change, you were able to remain calm in front of all the other kings. The Iron Blood King, you've silently increased your strength by so much. Although the others were shocked when they saw Iron Armor City, none of them felt nervous. This means that the hidden strength of their respective countries is enough to deal with it. In order to hide his strength, the Hero King didn't care about his face. He had the Dragon Knights do some miscellaneous work. Logically speaking, with their previous knight captain dead, he should be the one at the front. Yet, he kept retreating. He must have other plans. We have to be careful. The most impressive one is still the Golden King. He actually came up with a plan to cover the entire human territory early on, the War King said to his subordinates. From the looks of it, the rumors of the War King being all brawn and no brains were true. Just from his ability to see the big picture, he was in no way inferior to any human emperor. After all, he's the emperor of an empire on par with our Nanshin Empire. It's normal for him to be more powerful and wise, the captain of the guards said. The War King smiled and didn't say anything. Hopefully, this will be enough to defeat the disaster. Otherwise, humans will have to endure a crazy counterattack. The Sacred King thought as he looked at the Iron Armor City that was being renovated. 1 year later. Lane Village. Miss Kara, I'm here to hand over the human race, a weak human youth said to the Adventurers Guild counter lady. Allah, Mr. Bane. Are you still fighting the giant rats and goblins alone? The counter lady greeted him with familiarity. Yes, I killed 10 goblins and 2 rats today, Bane said. Okay, this is your reward. Mr. Bane is also at the iron level. If you were to team up with someone else, you would have been able to take on more difficult missions. That's true, but no team needs a thief right now. Rather than a thief, it's better to have a more powerful attacker, Shi Feng said, shaking his head. However, since the thief class exists, there must be a need. Be patient and you'll find a use for it. Then I'll count on your auspicious words. Bane ended his conversation with the counter lady and greeted the people he knew along the way. He took his reward and walked out of the guild. Bane didn't want to go back to his empty home, but he had nowhere else to go. Bane had never seen his parents before. He was picked up from the mountains by Uncle Karoo. Fortunately, the people of Grey Wolf Village were very kind. It could be said that the entire village raised him. He was familiar with every family. Every New Year, his relatives in the village would snatch him to eat at their house. It was very embarrassing. Bane was very grateful. Ever since he learned the skills of a thief, he had been working hard to earn money to repay the village. The villagers joked that Karoo was very lucky to have picked him up. After so many years, Bane's thief skills were actually very good. Many teams had already sent out invitations to Bane. If Bane said that no team wanted him, the counter lady naturally wouldn't mention it. Bane rejected all these invitations without exception. This was because joining a team meant leaving Grey Wolf Village. Bane liked it here and didn't want to leave. Bane, you're back. An old man greeted at the entrance of the village. Yes, I'm back, Grandpa Village Chief, Bane said. Be careful when you go out. Grandpa is always on tenterhooks when you go out every day. Grandpa, don't worry. Didn't you insist that I learn the thief class? You said it was a good class. If I can't beat them, I can definitely run away. Bane said with a smile. There's always a chance. It's never wrong to be careful. Don't be careless. I know, Grandpa. At the same time, 3 people walked in from the Adventurers Guild. They were arguing as they walked. If you ask me, I'll just open it. What's the point of opening the lock? A youth with a treasure chest under his arm said impatiently. What if you break the things inside? Aisha, what about you? Can you open the lock? A woman in a white bishop's robe asked the woman in a black magician's robe. In your mind, is this what I do? If you can teleport, why do you need to learn the lockpicking skill? Besides, from ancient times until now, I've never heard of anyone in my class who can open lock. Aisha immediately retorted. And so, the 3 people walked up to the counter under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Hello, is there a thief in the vicinity who can open locks? Jilin asked. Chapter 10. Although the Conference of the Kings had agreed to complete the Adventurer Association within a year, in less than 4 months, the adventurer system had become common. The social status of the adventurers increased. Those who used to be seen as jobless were now heroes who volunteered to fight for the people. To help the adventurers complete the human race, the countries had passed various laws. One of them was that the adventurers could freely cross the borders of the countries. Jilin could completely transform into a human now. He wanted to make better use of this body. He found it very interesting to stay in the human capital for a month. Compared to listening to 2 human women quarreling in the Red Dragon Palace, he found it much more interesting. The humans wanted to find him to save the princess, but there was no one who could pass through the Bat-Tel's defense line. Aisha, let's go play in the human world and find something interesting to do, Jilin suddenly said to Aisha on another boring afternoon. Don't you want to catch the princess and wait for her to earn money? Aisha said. She was a bit surprised by Jilin's sudden idea. I think the Bat-Tel can do that, Jilin said. What if the hero you want to see comes? Aisha said. Hero? Isn't that something that hasn't appeared for several eras? Staya asked curiously. Ask the Bat-Tel to tell me. You can leave a magic circle here. We can teleport back then. Jilin ignored Staya. How many generations had there been no hero? There was no dragon to catch the princess. Now that you're in my hands, I don't have to worry about not seeing a hero. Aisha did not say anything. The simple-minded Jilin had thought of everything so thoroughly. It seemed like he had made up his mind. It was not correct to say that Jilin was simple-minded. From his biological structure, Jilin was definitely smarter than any human. However, he did not want to think about human problems. That was why he seemed simple-minded in Aisha's eyes. But in Staya's eyes, she was just a child with great power. She had restrained herself in the sacred city and treated her well in the Red Dragon Palace. How long had he been with Aisha before he was bewitched by the cunning witch? The god of light must have sent me here to defeat the witches and bring the Megalosaurus back to the right path. According to the Holy Bible, fate would naturally send people to the right place at the right time. Staya believed. Thus, 3 different species of life began their journey. Just because they were traveling in the human world, it didn't mean that they would encounter any problems in the human world. Then they became adventurers, and there were a lot of interesting things to do there. There were as many as a wall in every adventurer's guild. The last mission they took on was a crusade against ferocious bandit. Jilin and the other 2 came to the Boxiao mountain range. It was said that the bandits here were very powerful. There were about 200 or 300 of them, and their name was the One-Eyed Bear. They had been causing trouble in the village for many years, and the people around them were miserable. The leader, Khan, once killed a giant bear with his bare hands. Although his right eye was destroyed in the battle, he won in the end. Since then, Khan peeled off the bear's skin and put it on to show his bravery. His friends respected him, so he founded the One-Eyed Bear. Bandits, it's the first time I've seen them, Jilin said excitedly. They are all unfortunate people who have no choice, Staya said. The villagers who showed us the way just now might not agree with what you said. They are just a group of bandits who indulged their desires and fell into depravity. Aisha did not agree with Staya. Haha, brothers, come and take a look. The one who gave us the money is here. But I haven't seen anyone walking up the mountain by themselves for a long time. A man with a big knife appeared in front of Jilin. At the same time, more than 20 people came out from the forest. Who are you? Aisha shouted. She knew that Jilin never talked to humans first, except for her and Staya. Staya had never experienced this before, so she had to talk. Hee, pretty girl, how dare you come out when you haven't even heard of the one-eyed bear? Be careful or you won't be able to go down the mountain later. Our boss will keep you as his mistress, the bandit laughed. Boss, it's not good. More than 20 of our brothers at the foot of the mountain were killed. The enemy is coming up the mountain now. How many? Khan asked. 3. Ask the brothers to prepare. Activate all the traps. No matter who they are, let's fight them. Khan thought for a while and decided immediately. Jilin and the other 2 stood in front of the gate of the mountain, while Khan stood on top of the city gate. The 2 sides were facing each other. Where are you from? Where did you get rich? Khan shouted. Aisha was about to say something, but was stopped by Jilin. I'll do it. Jilin was eager to give it a try. How could the dragon race have so many expressions? Aisha complained in her mind. We have been hiding in Gerda volcano, Jilin said. Little brother, don't think that I'm ignorant just because I'm a bandit. The volcanoes to the west of the Saimai Empire are all Gerda volcanoes. I've seen people go in, but I've never seen anyone come out. It's fine if you don't want to tell me where you come from, but how can you lie without using your brain? I don't think we've met before. I didn't offend you, but you hurt more than 20 of my brothers for no reason. How do you think we should settle this? Khan was not scared when he saw that the person was trying to hide his identity. What do you think? Aisha said. It's simple. I see that you're dressed like rich people. You just have to stay here for a few days and ask your family to send money over. If you don't see any money on the day, I'll chop off one of this guy's fingers, Khan said in high spirits as he pointed at Jilin. Hey, this human has some ideas. That's a good idea. I'll spread the news too. I'll say that if they don't save the princess, I'll chop off one of her fingers. How long has it been? No one has saved you yet. Am I going to feed you for nothing? Jilin, who was inspired by the bandit leader, said to Staya. Staya had mixed feelings. She didn't know what to do. Come on, if you chop off her fingers, who would be willing to save a disabled princess? Even if you save her, you'll still be afraid that you'll fail. We've said that if you save the princess, she'll marry you, Aisha said. She knew that Jilin wouldn't really do it, so she took the opportunity to make Staya angry. Makes sense, Jilin said. I'll give you one last chance. Put down your weapons and surrender. Go to the official residence, and I'll try my best to ensure your safety. Staya decided to ignore them and do something serious. For example, saving the lives of the people in front of her. Damn it. Open the door and catch them. I'll teach these idiotic women a lesson tonight. Khan was instantly enraged. He opened the door and rushed towards Jilin with his men. Impressive. Jilin looked at Staya with approval. There were many humans who attacked Jilin. Most of them didn't care about their lives. They only wanted to protect the dignity of humans or their belief. Even Jilin agreed that it was worth sacrificing one's life for such things, although he never said it. However, the humans in front of him were different. They only did it for their own desires. Maybe they were even pure? Jilin took a step forward and vanished from sight. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Khan and grabbed his head with one hand, lifting him up. It wasn't teleportation. It was simply moving faster than human eyes could capture. The long, deep pit that appeared behind Jilin proved this point. Most of Khan's men were injured by the impact of Jilin's movement. The rest were too scared to go forward. You didn't know how strong the enemy was, but you gave up all your preparations and attacked recklessly. Humans always surprise me. I'm curious how you managed to survive until now? Jilin asked. Khan grabbed Jilin's arms with both hands. His veins were popping out and he couldn't stop kicking. There was a clever bandit on the side. He said that he was an ordinary citizen at the foot of the mountain. He was kidnapped by bandits and had no choice but to become a bandit. He was lucky enough to be saved by his savior today. He was very grateful. He knew a secret path that led to the treasure room of the bandit leader. Please follow me quickly. Jilin didn't believe a single word he said, but just based on this quick-wittedness, he could survive. Is this the unfortunate person you mentioned? Aisha looked at Staya and said mischievously. Most of the treasures didn't catch Jilin's eyes. There was only one treasure chest of unknown origin that was held under Jilin's arm. The rest were sent directly to the Red Dragon Palace. Because of the treasures, I'll let you say something. Jilin threw Khan to the ground. Can you spare my life? Khan asked. What an idiot. Why would I come if I could spare your life? Jilin mocked. Ha, I don't want to die a good death in this line of work. I always walk by the river. I admit that I met you today. However, those who kill must be prepared to be killed. I'm prepared for this. You'll be like me sooner or later. I hope that when the time comes, you can also. Before Khan could finish his sentence, Jilin shattered his skull. Makes sense. But are those who kill bears also prepared to be killed by bears? Jilin looked at the corpse in front of him and said. Chapter 11. Excuse me? Are there any thieves around here who know how to pick locks? Jilin and the others approached the counter and asked. You are? The counter lady asked cautiously. We are adventurers from afar. This is a warrior in our team, this is a magician, and I am a priest from the Church of Light. Staya introduced Jilin and Aisha to the counter lady. After hearing Staya's words, the counter lady let down her guard. On this continent, the name of the Church of Light was a guarantee of one's character. All right, since the Church of Light is here, I will give you Bane's address. Since he lives alone most of the time, he shouldn't disturb anyone. The counter lady handed over a piece of paper. Thank you. Staya smiled. Is your smile real or fake? Aisha said. I prefer to call it politeness. Staya said. Hypocrite. Aisha said with disdain. Why does that woman trust the Church of Light so much? Jilin asked. Of course it's because the followers of the Church of Light all believe in the God of Light. They are strict with themselves and often help the people. They treat the poor and never ask for payment. They are all moral role models. Staya said proudly. She too? Jilin pointed at Aisha. Of course not, she is a spy sent by the darkness. Staya said excitedly. When she knew that Aisha had lived in the Church of Light for many years and even became a bishop, she almost collapsed. She could only comfort herself by saying that it was a test from the God of Light. Humph, they are a bunch of liars. They lie all day and finally they lied to themselves. Aisha said viciously. People like you will never be blessed by the God of Light. Staya ignored her and said calmly. People with conflicting beliefs were more difficult to communicate than people with different languages. The God that I believe in is more real. I can feel him every time I sacrifice. The God of Light that you believe in only exists in the scriptures. He either doesn't exist, or he doesn't care about you at all. The fact that Jilin and I are still alive is proof. Aisha pressed. Indeed, from a human's point of view, Aisha, a believer of darkness, had been in the Church of Light for many years. Needless to say, Jilin had directly destroyed the sacred city where the Church of Light was located. If the God of Light really existed, he would not let such a thing happen. As a human, it is wrong to think about the gods. They were not just powerful creatures, but humans always liked to imagine their gods as powerful people. Why was that? Were humans trying to reduce the number of things they couldn't understand? Was he trying to shorten the distance between humans and God? Or do humans think they can become gods? Jilin asked. Aisha and Staya were both silent. Jilin and the group arrived at the Grey Wolf village. It was a very simple village, according to Staya. If Khan and his men came here to rob, it would be a loss, according to Aisha. It was estimated that if they passed by from the sky, the entire village could be rebuilt. This was what Jilin said. The people in the village looked at these outsiders curiously. They were not afraid, but they were alert. Although the village did not have to worry about food and clothing, there was no extra wealth. Plus, the road was not easy to walk on, so robbers were not willing to come here. They always heard robbers say that they would take away all the food, but they did not mean that they would rob the food. They would not even let the food go. They had never seen robbers who only robbed the food. It was not worth it. Therefore, the people in the village had not seen outsiders for a long time. Staya asked people where Bane lived. The villagers told her enthusiastically. Only a few people in the village knew. Is there anyone here? Staya stood in front of the wooden house and knocked on the door. I heard humans say that the poor are scheming and the rich have a conscience. But on my way here, I feel that there are more poor people than good people, Jilin said, puzzled. That's because the rich said it themselves. Only the poor would not say it, Aisha said matter-of-factly. Is it like what humans always say, that history is written by the victors? Shameless humans always twist the facts to their advantage, Jilin murmured. Yes, the Church of Light also said that witches are despicable and evil. They kill innocent people. Aisha felt that Jilin was right. What's wrong? Staya looked at Aisha. Just as Aisha was about to fight back, the door opened. A human teenager who looked like Jilin in human form appeared from the wooden house. Who are you? Bane looked at the strangers in front of him. We are adventurers from afar. You must be Bane. The lady at the counter introduced us, Staya said. Oh, it's her. Please come in. I usually live by myself and don't have much to entertain. Come in and have a drink, Bane said. Bane wasn't modest at all. There was only one table and 4 chairs in the room that could be used to entertain guests. If Jilin and the others had one more person, they would have to stand here and talk. We are here to ask for your help. This is the treasure chest we got from the bandits' lair. Can you open it? If you can, we will convert the things in the treasure chest into gold coins and give you 10% as a reward. What do you think? Jilin put the treasure chest on the table and said straightforwardly. Sure, it's a fair price, Bane said. Jilin's price was in line with the market price of adventurers. Although picking locks was a piece of cake for thieves, they did not know what was in the chest. There had been cases where there was a safety device in the chest that blew up the thieves trying to unlock it. Detect. Bane's eyes lit up. It was a thief's skill. There shouldn't be any traps. Then, pick the lock. Bane put his hand on the treasure chest and activated the unlock skill. The treasure chest emitted a faint red light. There was a click sound. Bane moved away from the treasure chest and signaled Jilin to open it. Jilin looked at Staya and Aisha and walked to the treasure chest excitedly. He opened it slowly. What is this? This is. Jilin looked at the treasure chest and said. Staya and Aisha went forward to take a look. What is this? Staya asked Aisha. Since witches always came into contact with strange things, she might know what it was. There was a red and green fruit in the treasure chest. It had a strange shape. It looks delicious. Jilin opened his mouth and was about to take a bite. Hey, why are you eating everything? Normally, food in a treasure chest would have spoiled long ago. Aisha quickly stopped him. You've seen it before? Jilin asked. No, Aisha said. Okay, then we'll treat this fruit as 100 gold coins and pay you 10 gold coins. What do you think? Staya said. Yes, sure. Bane was very easy to talk to. For Bane, who killed goblins all day, 10 gold coins was a lot of money. It greatly exceeded his expectations. Although I've heard about your situation, I still want to ask you, are you willing to join my team? Jilin suddenly said. Who knew how long Jilin and the others had traveled to find such a bandit? Moreover, Jilin thought that bandit skills were very useful, and Bane's character was also very good, so he wanted to join the team. "Thank you for your invitation, but I really don't want to leave the village now," Bane said. "Okay, if you know what you've missed out on, you might regret it," Jilin said with some regret. "Maybe." Bane didn't deny it. After giving 10 gold coins to Bane, Jilin and the others left the village. Bane sent them all the way to the entrance of the village. Then he waved goodbye. Bane returned home and felt that joining Jilin's team was a good idea. Jilin looked about the same age as him, and the two big sisters were also very beautiful. The white sister felt like a well-educated noble lady, gentle and noble. However, he still couldn't leave the village. The villagers worked hard to raise him, and he had to repay them, so he couldn't just leave. Bane thought in his heart. Suddenly, a loud bell rang in the village. It was the village's alarm system. It hadn't been functioning for a long time, but Bane still did it every day. Bane rushed out of the market and found the village chief. "Grandpa, what's wrong?" Bane asked. "I don't know, I only know that something is approaching from the west." "Gather the villagers first, I'll go take a look," Bane said. "Hey, be careful," the village chief said worriedly. "Okay. Stealth. Haste." Although bandits weren't very strong in frontal combat, they were very useful in other aspects. Bane left the village and walked towards the west. It was hard to find him in stealth mode. Soon, he saw wolves approaching the village in an orderly manner. It was obvious that there was something commanding them. "It's a pack of wolves." Bane quickly returned to the village and told the village chief. "Let the elderly, women, and children go to the back of the mountain. The rest of the people stay behind to stop the wolves. If we go together, the wolves will catch up," the village chief said. "What if I ask the Adventurers Guild for help?" Bane asked. "Too late. Why have you been smiling since just now?" Staya asked Aisha. Aisha couldn't hide her smile since they came out of the village. Aisha rolled her eyes at Staya and turned to Jilin. "Let me tell you, we've made a lot of money this time. That's a spirit beast fruit, worth tens of thousands of gold coins," Aisha said deliberately. It turned out that she already knew what it was, but she didn't say it on purpose. "Shameless," Staya said. "I saved us a lot of money," Aisha said exaggeratedly. None of the three of them cared about that little money. "Smart. What's a spirit beast fruit?" Jilin asked after he confirmed Aisha's guess. "For beasts, it's something that all magical beasts dream of. It can increase a magical beast's growth limit and increase their intelligence. It's something that every magical beast instinctively pursues. It's also very valuable to humans, because it can attract all magical beasts within 5 kilometers. The smell can last for a long time," Aisha said. "Then isn't the Grey Wolf village a threat?" Staya said. "That's right. Didn't that thief say that he couldn't join us because he couldn't leave the village? We'll invite him after the village is destroyed," Aisha said deliberately. "Won't he be in danger too?" Jilin asked. "Thieves don't die so easily." Aisha waved her hand and said carelessly. "Impressive." Jilin gave Aisha a thumbs up. "Bastard." Staya cursed and ran towards the village. Chapter 12. Outside the village, the pack of wolves slowly approached. Every one of them had a pair of glowing red eyes. They lowered their bodies and stretched out their heads as they moved forward. Their limbs were slow, but they were constantly exerting strength to ensure that they could attack the target in front of them at any time. It was hard to imagine that such a large pack of wolves could be so quiet. Only the sound of saliva dripping from their mouths falling onto the grass could be heard. Normally, the wolves would never attack during the day, but now that they were tempted by the spirit beast fruit, they had no choice. But to the villagers, this was definitely good news. The villagers were tough, and this remote Grey Wolf village was even more so. Many of the villagers had the habit of hunting in the mountains to support their families. The villagers held weapons in their hands as they waited at the entrance of the village. Although the atmosphere was tense and serious, there was no panic. Even in the mountains, they dared to fight one-on-one with wild beasts, let alone in their own home with a group of villagers who lived with them. At this time, as a man, he couldn't be a coward. Not to mention his wife and children were behind him. He couldn't even embarrass himself in front of these people. In the future, he wouldn't be able to raise his head in the village for the rest of his life. Bane stood at the front of the group, holding two short swords and bowing. An iron-level thief, even if his fighting strength was weak, was still stronger than these villagers. The wolves in front had already appeared in their field of vision. Their sharp claws cut through the green grass on the ground as they growled in a low voice. They were choosing to devour people. Facing such an imposing aura, the villagers couldn't help but take 2 steps back, tightening the forks and sticks in their hands. A pack of hungry wolves was more threatening than a single one. A wolf howl came from afar, and the pack of wolves began to charge. The distance between the pack of wolves and the entrance of the village was too short. "Pull!" the village chief shouted. 2 villagers pulled on the ropes in their hand. Suddenly, a row of sharpened bamboo was erected at the entrance of the village. The 2 wolves in front were too fierce and couldn't change direction in time, so they crashed into the bamboo and howled loudly. The wolves in the back wanted to jump over the bamboo, but their bodies were in the air and there was nowhere for them to use. As long as the villagers could hit the wolves, they could easily knock them down. The villagers with forks could use the gaps between the bamboo to kill the wolf. The villagers were very methodical. It was obvious that this wasn't the first time this had happened. As long as the wolves couldn't jump over the bamboo, there was no problem. If they killed a few more, the Wolf King would retreat. But this time, the villagers were destined to be disappointed. The Wolf King, which was twice the size of a normal wolf, appeared in front of the pack for the first time under the effect of the beast spirit fruit. Not good, it's a magical beast. The bamboo raft can't stop it. Everyone, quickly retreat to my house. The village chief shouted. In the entire village, only the village chief's house was made of stone, and it was the sturdiest. Only the village head's courtyard could accommodate dozens of villagers. The Wolf King rushed towards the bamboo raft. It did not need to jump as it was taller than the bamboo raft. Even the bamboo couldn't damage its fur. The entire bamboo raft was directly smashed into pieces, and the bamboo flew in all directions miserably. The Wolf King looked coldly and cruelly at the villagers who were running away and roared loudly. The wolves obeyed his command and rushed into the Grey Wolf village, chasing after the people who were running away. As the distance got closer and closer, the sound of the wolf's footsteps became clearer and clearer in the villagers' ears. The wolf's panting also seemed to be right next to their ears. The villagers couldn't help but look back. Even though they knew that doing so would only reduce their speed, they still couldn't stop themselves. This was human instinct. Even though he knew it was useless, even though he knew he shouldn't, he just couldn't control himself. Was that why there was a phrase called involuntary? The villagers who were about to be caught finally couldn't stand the pressure of being hurt at any time. They stopped abruptly and roared as they swung the wooden stick in their hands at the wolf behind them. Miraculously, the stick hit the wolf's head. The wolf howled and shrank back a little, but then it shook its head and pounced again. The wolf's weakness was definitely not its head. The villagers used the wooden stick to block the wolf's bite, but they couldn't withstand the wolf's strength. They were pushed to the ground by the wolf. The wolf's hot breath blew onto the villagers' faces, and there was a bloody stench. The wolf's mouth kept biting the wooden stick, opening and closing as if it was going to bite the stick in half. Facing such a scene, the villagers could only scream in fear and shake their heads violently. They shouted incomprehensible words, don't come over, kill, don't. A gray figure suddenly appeared behind the wolf, and 2 short swords were fiercely stabbed into the wolf's lower back. His hands parted, and with a forceful pull 2 puffs of blood came out. The giant wolf simply lay on the ground and stopped breathing. Run quickly. Bane helped the villagers up and shouted. If they ran any slower, the wolf pack behind them would catch up. Once they were caught in a stalemate, they would be doomed. Even if a thief carried a person, they would still run faster than a wolf. Bane led the villagers into the leader's house. The moment they entered the house, the others quickly closed the door and found something to cover it. Some people even used their bodies to block the door. Outside the door, there were banging sounds and the sound of dogs scratching the door. There were also some wolves wandering around the house. The people in the house could clearly sense it. It's okay. As long as the wolves don't come in, they will leave soon, the village chief comforted everyone. Look, some of the wolves are running in another direction. A villager observed the wolf pack's movement through the window. That direction is Bane's wooden house. Someone made a judgment. Bane immediately understood that the wolves were not here to attack the village. They were here for him. To be precise, they were here for the treasure chest he had just opened. Judging from the Wolf King's behavior, it would not give up until it got what it wanted. But the treasure had already been taken away. Logically speaking, the wolf pack should have directly passed through or circled around the village. The only possibility was that the three of them had some way to conceal it, causing the wolf pack to think that the treasure was still in the village. Damn it, Bane said in his heart. In fact, Bane naturally misunderstood Jilin. With Jilin's strength, he would not have thought of this. Moreover, Jilin's absolute territory was 2 meters around him. Once the beast's spirit fruit came within 2 meters of Jilin, the wolf pack would not be able to sense it. Just like the knight's key. Bane knew that the wolf pack would not retreat easily this time. The house had not been broken through yet, but the Wolf King had not made its move. Once the Wolf King joined in, the house would not last long. He could only go out and lure the wolf pack away. Otherwise, if something went wrong, no one in the house would be spared. And if he went out, no matter if he succeeded or failed, the villagers would be saved. After weighing the pros and cons, Bane made up his mind. He pushed a villager who was near the window aside and dashed out. After landing, he activated haste and rushed out of the village. Hey! Village chief, Bane went out. Bring him back! Open the door. It took the villagers a lot of effort to open the gate that they had blocked and rushed out of the gate. The wolves ran past them, but they ignored them and rushed in the direction that Bane had run. They didn't even glance at them. What's going on? A villager asked in a daze. No one could answer him. Bane rushed into the forest and used stealth to deal with the wolf pack. It was not a wise choice for a human to play hide and seek with wolves in the forest, but Bane knew that he could not always be ahead of the wolves. He could only look for another place. But the situation seemed to be worse than he imagined. The wolf pack did not find Bane in stealth, but still relied on their hunter's instinct to surround him, and the encirclement was shrinking little by little. Bane knew that he could not wait any longer. If he waited any longer, only death would await him. His eyes locked onto the Wolf King that was slowly coming over. Only by killing the Wolf King could he scare off the wolves. Bane put one hand on the ground and bent his body, while the other hand clenched the dagger, waiting for the right moment. Flash thrust. Bane turned into a black line and rushed towards the Wolf King. An Iron Thief's all-out attack broke through the defense of a rank 2 intelligent magic beast. The Wolf King could not dodge in time and was ruthlessly stabbed in the back. It painfully wanted to turn around and attack Bane, but it was helpless. Bane was now in its blind spot. The Wolf King frantically turned around, wanting to throw Bane off. The intense pain swallowed up its reason. It could have seriously injured Bane with a roll, or at least driven him off its back. The surrounding wolves anxiously wanted to help their king, but did not dare to approach. Bane gambled correctly. No wolf dared to approach the Wolf King to attack him. Between beasts, even if they were companions, they would still maintain their guard against each other. This was even more true between two classes. However, it was still simpler than humans. While humans maintained their guard against each other, They would also maintain a superficial level of trust. The wolf pack surrounded the Wolf King and Bane in a huge circle, and no one dared to cross it. As the Wolf King struggled, the wound caused by the dagger grew larger and larger, accelerating its loss of blood. The Wolf King's struggles grew weaker and weaker until it finally collapsed on the ground, pressing down on Bane. Bane exerted all his strength to move the Wolf King's corpse away. He was covered in blood. He fiercely glared at the wolf pack. He tried his best to appear fierce. He knew that if he showed even the slightest bit of cowardice, the wolf pack would not hesitate to pounce on him. They would devour him and the Wolf King until there was nothing left. The wolf pack was intimidated by Bane's blood-red eyes. That was the Wolf King's blood, but their instincts still urged them to move forward step by step under the temptation of the spirit beast fruit. Chapter 13. Bane watched helplessly as the wolves approached him bit by bit. He was really strong on the outside but weak on the inside. He didn't even have the strength to move a finger. Bane swallowed a mouthful of saliva and thought in his heart, "I'm done for." Just as Bane was about to give up, the wolves suddenly stopped in their tracks and growled twice. They all scattered and ran away. Bane, who was already prepared to die, froze in place and didn't know what to do. The first thought in his mind was, "Fuck, why did you all leave? Isn't this a waste of the mental preparation I've done for half a day? Isn't this a waste of the heroic scene of me risking my life for the villagers?" But then Bane came to his senses. All of a sudden, he felt a sense of relief after surviving a disaster. Bane fell straight to the ground. There was no pain, only a kind of intense comfort as if his body and soul were about to float to the sky. In Bane's eyes, the weather was so clear, the sun was so bright, the clouds were so white, and he was like one of the clouds. But soon Bane knew that it was just the dizziness caused by lying on the ground and looking straight at the sky. It made him feel like he was integrated into the clouds in the sky. Because he felt a slight vibration coming from the ground. Something was approaching. Bane judged from the vibration that was getting stronger and stronger. Bane understood that the wolves weren't scared off by him or sparing his life out of kindness, but there was a stronger and more ferocious hunter that was about to come. It was actually able to make the wolves give up on the easy prey. Bane didn't know what kind of magical beast was coming. He only knew that he couldn't escape death this time. Maybe he even had to thank the newcomer for letting him live a little longer. Now his strength could only support him to raise his head and look at the newcomer. He was still lying on the ground. Bane smiled bitterly. The vibration was getting stronger and stronger. With a loud bang, Bane could hear it louder than thunder. A shadow covered Bane's face, blocking the blue sky and white clouds in his eyes. He could only use all his strength to support his upper body and stretch his head to look at the newcomer. It was meaningless to do so, just like the villagers who were chased by wolves. However, humans did not want to die for no reason. It could also be said that it was driven by instinct to feel more of the world and understand more things. For Bane, the only thing he knew was who killed him. Bane looked up and saw a pure white giant ape standing in front of him. Its entire body was pure white, without a single strand of mixed hair. Only his eyes were blood-red. The red-eyed white ape was a very common magical beast. Red-eyed white apes were mostly brown when they were born, but as they grew stronger, their fur would turn white. When the red-eyed white ape had its first white hair, it meant that it had officially entered the realm of a Grade 2 magical beast, which was equivalent to an iron adventurer. When the red-eyed white ape's entire body was covered in white fur, it meant that it was already a Grade 6 magical beast, which was equivalent to a gold-ranked adventurer. The one in front of him was even more extraordinary. Bane knew him. He was the leader of all the magical beasts in the nearby mountains. He was an existence that surpassed Grade 7 purple gold and reached Grade 8 platinum magical beast. Humans called him White Snow. He was at the top of the adventurer's mission rankings. The name was beautiful, but humans wanted him to be like white snow, disappearing in the next spring. However, it was undeniable that under White Snow's leadership, there were very few high-level magical beasts that attacked humans. At most, they were Grade 2 magical beasts like the Wolf King. Bane looked at White Snow, wanting to cry but no tears came out. When a weak life form was attacked by a strong life form, it would not have the kind of weird thoughts that were written in books, such as, "I have no regrets in dying in your hands today." They would only think, "You're so strong, why are you bullying me? Go find someone stronger." Bane wanted to say that, but White Snow obviously did not want to communicate with him. He immediately threw a punch at Bane, as if he wanted to smash him into pieces and find the spirit beast fruit. Bane closed his eyes in fear and gave up struggling. He waited for death to come. There was a loud bang, but there was no pain. "That's right, I died so quickly, yet I still feel pain. My body must have been broken into small pieces and splashed all over the place. If I can still feel it, it should be very painful. This world is really gentle to living beings." Bane thought. No. That was the sound of metal clashing. Bane hurriedly opened his eyes, and a golden light shone in front of him. It was the girl's hair, dazzling under the sunlight, floating in the air, dancing with the wind, beautiful and dreamy. The girl held a white shield with both hands and charged at White Snow's face. That was where the banging sound came from. White Snow's body was not big among the high-level magical beasts, but it was still the height of 3 or 4 people. But it was knocked away by the girl, flying into the forest. It knocked down countless trees along the way. The girl turned back to look at Bane. "I finally found you." Bane, who dared to lure the wolves away alone, and who was still strong after going through so many life and death situations, almost cried because of the girl's words. No one knew how complicated his feelings were. He knew the girl with golden hair and shield, Staya. She was the girl who claimed to be a priest of the Church of Light in the trio. Few people knew that Staya's real profession was a paladin. She held a shield and a hammer, and reached the 9th level diamond level. She rarely showed her identity as a paladin after she became a candidate for the Saintess. "When I arrived at the village, the villagers told me that you lured the wolves away, so I hurried to save you. But the traces were too messy. If it wasn't for the loud sound of the red-eyed giant ape, I might not have found you," Staya said. "It's okay, just in time, thank you." What else could Bane say? "No, I should be the one thanking you, because you lured the wolves away, none of the villagers were hurt. Otherwise, it would be our responsibility." "I'm very sorry," Staya said. "Maybe it was the guidance of the God of Light," Bane said. The whole continent knew that the people of the Church of Light loved to hear this. "That's true." Staya smiled, and the sun shone brighter. Bane was stunned. With a loud roar, White Snow rushed back. Staya's attack didn't cause much damage to it. Attacking power wasn't a paladin's strength. White Snow punched Staya's shield of promise, but Staya stood up straight, holding the shield with both hands, and didn't move at all. She even took a step forward. A paladin's strength was resistance. White Snow jumped back, roared at Staya, and beat its chest with both hands. All the monkeys liked this action. Additional magic, diamond body. Racial skill, rage. Ancestors' blessing, demon ape true god. White Snow used many methods to increase its strength, and temporarily broke through to the 9th level. White Snow's muscles bulged exaggeratedly, and its eyes glowed like blood. There was even the shadow of an ancient demon ape that fell from the sky and attached itself to White Snow's body, causing White Snow to glow red. White Snow punched the shield of promise again, and instantly created a strong wave of air that blew the surrounding grass, broke the trees, and blew Bane away. This meant that even Staya couldn't completely block it. She was already slightly injured, and this attack made her feel very uncomfortable. However, this attack did not stop there. Fist after fist, it was like a violent storm, raging wave. And Staya was like a rock in the storm. "No matter how much wind and rain hit, I'll remain unmoved." White Snow's attack couldn't break through Staya's defense. Holy Shield. Staya used the paladin's skill, and the shield emitted a strong golden light that hit White Snow. White Snow couldn't help but slide back. Staya held the shield of promise and knelt down on one knee. She was still slightly injured after all. Staya took out the holy book of light and let it float above her head. The holy light allowed her to quickly recover from her injuries. In terms of healing ability, the holy book of light wasn't inferior to any 10th step legendary archbishop. Staya took out the hammer of victory from the holy book of light. She was full of confidence as she rushed towards White Snow. The paladin with its own priest was the strongest solo job. It was recognized by the whole continent. Staya rushed forward and waved the hammer of victory to attack White Snow and used the shield of promise to defend against White Snow's attacks, while receiving the healing from the holy book. She was fighting without reason, and was unbeatable. She was just a human girl, how could she be so strong? White Snow finally wanted to retreat. Ape King Fist. White Snow's body glowed red, and 2 red light beams shot out from her eyes. This punch caused the air to explode, creating a sonic boom. It blew Staya more than 20 meters away. White Snow saw this and ran away without hesitation. Her strongest attack still couldn't break through that woman's defense. Just in front of White Snow, a black magic circle appeared in the air, and a woman's voice came from it. It's okay, she won't be able to run away. She can't run away either. What if she really runs away? Where am I supposed to find a hero? I said, you're in my hands, okay? Then a young man's angry voice came. A human young man walked out of the magic circle in the air, and turned his head to say something to the magic circle. White Snow couldn't dodge in time and hit the young man with her head. White Snow's head was half the size of a human's head. If Bane was hit like this, he would definitely die. Even Staya with the shield of promise couldn't ignore it. However, the young man didn't move at all, even though he wasn't prepared. On the other hand, White Snow didn't move after hitting the young man, like a human who died after hitting the wall. The young man looked back at White Snow, and stepped on White Snow to the ground. What the hell is this? Hey Staya, your armor is so cool. I finally found you. So you're a paladin, you've hidden yourself well, Aisha said. White Snow was lying in the giant pit, bleeding from all her orifices and dying. Bane held onto the tree and was shocked. Chapter 14. Jilin landed from the sky. He stepped on White Snow and paused for a second. Then, he quickly came to Staya. He quickly grabbed Staya's hand and said with a flattering smile, "Oh, princess, why did you leave by yourself? Wait for us. What if you die outside? Where am I going to find the hero?" Jilin said inwardly. "Wait for you? You teleported here so much later than me. Why are you taking so long? If I really waited for you, it would be too late." Staya was not happy with Jilin and Aisha's attitude. Staya thought the whole thing started because of them, but Jilin and Aisha did not care about it at all. Staya thought it was ridiculous. "Doesn't it take time to draw a magic circle?" Aisha complained. "What's the point of teleporting if it's slower than running?" Staya said. "Who is this?" Jilin noticed Bane on the side. "You forgot about him in such a short time?" Staya could not believe it. "Humans are all about the same," Jilin said innocently. "Then how can you tell me and Staya from other humans?" Aisha asked curiously. "For example, if a human lost a dog, even if someone brought 2 similar dogs to him, he would be able to tell if it was his own dog. In other words, he would be familiar with them," Jilin said matter-of-factly. "It would be better if you didn't say that," Aisha said with her teeth clenched. She knew Jilin did not mean to belittle Staya and her. In Jilin's eyes, humans were not more noble than other creatures. Therefore, she could not get angry. However, even if she got angry, she would not be able to do anything to Jilin. "This is Bane, the thief just now." Staya brought the topic back to the main topic. If they were allowed to talk freely, they would go off topic for a whole day. "Why is he here?" Jilin was puzzled. Thus, Staya described the entire story. Jilin stared at Bane, causing Bane to feel uncomfortable all over. He had seen how Jilin had stepped on by Shui with one foot, and she was still lying on the ground. After all, that was a magical beast of the 8th rank capable of unleashing power of the 9th rank. "I have a deep impression of you," Jilin said to Bane. Bane complained in his heart. He clearly didn't remember it just now. "I'll ask you one more time. Are you willing to join us?" Jilin asked. Bane looked at Staya and then at Jilin. "Can I ask why you want me to join? I know that my strength is not worth mentioning in your eyes. I don't know what I have that's worth your attention." Bane wasn't as determined as before. "Do you know how many humans there are in this world?" Jilin asked. "A few billion," Bane answered. "That's right. The number is terrifying. Then why do they keep living in this crowded world?" Jilin asked. "Because they enjoy life and love it?" Bane was not sure. Haha. Jilin did not think much of it. Humans are the race that doesn't love life the most. I've seen it in the human capital before. They kill other creatures at will to satisfy their own desires. They don't do it for survival. If they want nice clothes, they skin other creatures. If they want decorations in the house, they stuff wood shavings in the stomachs of other animals so that they look alive when they die. Then, they put them in the most conspicuous place in the house. They wanted to offer sacrifices to the gods to soothe the emptiness in their hearts, but they put the heads of other creatures on the altar, even to themselves. When they saw the coffin of a noble passing by on the street, the people on the side of the street would not bow their heads in silence to mourn the death of their own kind. Instead, they would point at the body and say to the people next to them, "Look, the coffin of the noble lord is so heavy. Look, the people carrying the coffin are all struggling." Jilin retorted. Bane felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't figure it out at the moment. He could only stay where he was. "As for what you said about humans enjoying life, there's a popular saying among humans that 9 out of 10 times, life doesn't go your way. Have you heard of it? This means that humans think that most of their lives are suffering. Everyone has experienced the hardships of life, without exception. If you talk to any human on the street and you ask them what kind of hardships they have experienced in their life, they can immediately talk to you for 2 to 3 hours. But if you suddenly ask them what happy things they have experienced, they will think for a long time and say a sentence or two laboriously, then end the awkward topic. How can you say that they enjoy life? It's just a struggle to survive," Jilin said. Bane was confused. He had the urge to turn around and leave, but he didn't dare to. Staya and Aisha didn't interrupt. They rarely saw Jilin talk so much with a human. Then, the same question. Why do humans continue to live in this world? Obviously, many people will give up on life and jump from high places. They can't fly. Jilin asked. Bane shook his head. He felt that his correct outlook on life, that was cultivated by the villagers, was greatly impacted. From my observation, most people are dissatisfied with their lives, but they still insist on living because they live for the sake of living. It can also be understood that they live because they are afraid of death. But being afraid of death is not a weakness. It is the greatest instinct of all living creatures. But you, Bane, you can choose to give up your life for others. You have gone against your greatest instinct. You are 1 in a million. You have the potential to become a true hero. Do you want to join us and be my companion? Jilin asked. I'm just asking you why you want to invite me. Do you have to beat around the bush and ask me these profound questions? Bane said in his heart. According to what you said, those who choose to jump from high places are braver. Bane asked. Of course. Jilin said matter-of-factly. Of course not. Staya finally couldn't take it anymore. If she didn't say anything, another normal human would be led astray. The Holy Book of Light says that the Holy Heaven will not let people who commit suicide enter. They are not brave. They are just weak people who can't bear the hardships of life. Staya said. Including the Church of Light, all the books of religions describe the world after death as beautiful. They tell people not to be afraid of death. But at the same time, all the books have a sentence that forbids suicide. Because without this sentence, the books will completely become a book that advises people to commit suicide. The religion will also become a cult. You really have nothing to say. Are you blocking both sides? Aisha said to Staya. Then what about you? How could Staya tolerate Aisha directly attacking the Holy Church? Us? We don't have your tricks. We, the God of Darkness, only believe in fair trade. Everything is a trade. Those people use their lives in exchange for eternal peace. Maybe they think it's appropriate. Aisha said. Then what can be exchanged for life? Staya stared at Aisha. Aisha didn't answer, because there was nothing that could be exchanged for life. Do you understand? No matter how boring it is, no one can deny the preciousness of life. We can't give it up easily. Staya looked at Bane. Bane let out a long sigh and nodded. Okay, since Miss Staya just saved my life, I am willing to join you. But what about the village? If we leave, the village will be in danger again. Bane said. That's easy. I will do it. Jilin said. What about it? Aisha pointed at white snow. Forget it. It didn't do anything wrong. It's an undeserved disaster. There is no need to kill it. Jilin said. No one objected. Everyone was touched by Jilin's words. Jilin and the others returned to the village. Bane said goodbye to the villagers. Jilin pulled out a strand of hair and buried it in the middle of the village. Staya printed the symbol of the royal family at the entrance of the village. Aisha set up a magic circle. Neither humans nor magical beasts could threaten the Grey Wolf village anymore. It's okay. You have grown up. Young eagles should fly in the sky. Be careful. Come back to the village if you have nothing to do. This will always be your home. The village chief was crying. Silly boy, how could you rush out by yourself? What do you think we are? What will happen to my daughter if you leave? A villager said. What does that have to do with me? Bane said hurriedly. The next day. Bane, have you heard of the antelope that likes to do acrobatics? Jilin asked Bane on the road outside the village. No. Bane shook his head blankly. You are like the antelope that likes to do acrobatic. The one below is more interesting. Jilin smiled. Is it interesting? Bane looked at Staya. Staya smiled. Bane's eyes lit up. So pretty, Bane thought. The corners of Aisha's mouth lifted slightly. What was in the box before? Bane suddenly thought of this. I don't know. I ate it. Tasted okay. Jilin said. Where are we going? Bane asked. North. I heard there is snow there. I have never seen it before. Jilin said. Chapter 15. South of the Snow Wind Empire. Under the gray sky, a two-horse carriage traveled through the empty snowy plains. The wheels rubbed against the axle, making the unique sound of a wooden carriage, and the creaking sound of ice and snow being crushed intertwined. It formed a beautiful movement, and at the same time, it made the world seem very quiet. Looking at the vast snowy plains, there were no living creatures or buildings, only white snow that extended to the end of the world and connected to the sky. The carriage traveled steadily on the snowy plains, leaving behind 2 long and clear tracks. This was the only chance of survival in this monotonous world, but it was slowly covered by the snow. In the end, it would no longer exist, leaving no trace behind. No one or any creature would know that there was a carriage driving here. Jilin sat on the driver's seat. Driving a carriage was very interesting to him. Even if the carriage didn't need to be driven, he still stubbornly sat outside the carriage in the sparse snow. He liked snow more. This carriage was bought from the Chamber of Commerce. There was nothing special about it except that it was sturdy and durable. However, the 2 horses were undead warhorses that Aisha had obtained from the dark sacrifice. As long as their energy wasn't extinguished, they could keep running. With the addition of an illusion, it made them look like ordinary horses. It was flawless. In the carriage, Staya and Aisha were whispering to each other. The content of their conversation made people not want to listen carefully. They didn't know how they could say such vicious words in such an elegant and polite manner. Bane kept breathing into his hands. The -10-degree weather didn't affect the other three, but it was still too cold for him, who had never seen snow before. Jilin looked up at the snowy world, took a deep breath of the cold air, and exhaled white air. The carriage slowly drove to the southern city of the Snow-Wind Empire, Heimtel. "It's really beautiful," Jilin murmured. "Heimtel. Increase the temperature of the fire a bit, it can't melt this black steel rock now," a short man with thick limbs shouted. His voice covered the loud sound of the machinery and echoed in the whole workshop. The dwarf beside the stove heard this and immediately stood up. He smiled and took a big gulp of wine from his waist, breathing out the smell of alcohol comfortably. Then he replied, "Got it? I'm coming." The flames instantly became more vigorous, and the flames turned blue. The black steel rock that had been lying motionless in the furnace began to melt bit by bit, turning into molten iron that flowed into the mold at the side. "How is it, Dum?" The dwarf by the hearth came over and asked. "It's okay, but if we have a higher temperature, we can use better metals to make better products." Dan shook his head and sighed. He felt that he was a hero who had no place to display his talents. He clearly had superior technology, but he was limited by the fact that he did not have a higher temperature. Seeing his friend so depressed, Mang Shan didn't have a good solution. After all, the problem of fire had always been troubling the dwarves, and they had never been able to solve it. The temperature of their fire just now was already the limit of current technology. The blue flames were considered top-notch in the world. Mang Shan handed over the wine from his waist. This trick was invincible to the dwarves. It was like your girlfriend throwing a tantrum for no reason, and you didn't know how to coax her. At this time, it was definitely not wrong to hand over the bag. Although it couldn't solve the problem, it might prevent the problem from being solved. Sure enough, after Dum took the wine and drank a few mouthfuls, he was no longer worried about the fire. This made Mang Shan think that he was just trying to cheat him of his wine. The mold cooled down, and after opening, there was a black sword embryo. There was still work to be done. Jilin and the others took a carriage and entered Heimter without any obstacles with the identity of adventurers. It seemed that all the buildings in the Snow-Wind Empire were black, and this city was no exception. It was especially conspicuous in the world of ice and snow. Humans always want to improve their sense of existence, and they will do anything, Jilin said as he looked at the somewhat conspicuous city. In this environment, the black buildings are like lighthouses on the sea. They can guide people who are lost and tell them the direction to go home. Staya retorted, trying to tell Jilin how much effort the humans put into building these buildings. Bane felt that Staya said it very well, but his expression completely betrayed him. "The buildings are black only because the rocks under this land are black," Aisha said helplessly. "That's right." Jilin and Staya looked at each other and then fell silent. The ideas and visions in their hearts would always be mercilessly beaten to the ground by reality, and they would be covered in cuts and bruises. They walked on the road and asked the passers-by about the location of the hotel and the Adventurers' Guild. Jilin and the others first went to the hotel to settle down. In the Snow-Wind Empire, there were not many outsiders in any city, because no one was willing to travel in the snow and pass through the vast snowfield. It was only until the appearance of the Adventurers' system that things changed. "Boss, 4 rooms and a whole roasted lamb first," Jilin said generously as soon as he entered the hotel. He looked like a tycoon in the human world that would make people jealous. He was both rich and rich. Ever since he accepted Aisha's suggestion, the number of humans who went to the Red Dragon Palace to seek death was not as many as he imagined, but it never stopped. Jilin now had a lot of money. "The Wind Moon Empire is just like the rumors, it's really cold," Bane sighed as he leaned against the stove. "What is cold?" Jilin looked at him and asked seriously. "How do I explain this to you?" Bane said hesitantly. When the outside temperature is lower than the human body temperature, people will feel cold. Aisha showed her wide range of knowledge. Really? That's why I feel cold all the time. Jilin said. I'm talking about people. Dear guests, the dishes are here, the waiter greeted. Other than Jilin's roasted lamb, Staya and Aisha also ordered a lot of snow toads, snow rabbits, and all kinds of snow region specialties, which filled up a big table. But in front of Jilin, these were all small things. Because there were very few outsiders in the city, and most of them were adventurers, the hotel was opened opposite the Adventurers Guild, and vice versa. Everyone decided to let Bane take the mission. Ever since Bane joined the team, the responsibility of dealing with ordinary people fell on Bane's shoulders. Because the distance was very close, Bane quickly returned and threw 2 pieces of paper on the table. It was a mission issued by the Adventurers Guild. Listen to Miss Gina's request and find her lost dagger. Go to the best weapon shop in the city, Sam's weapon shop, to help. These 2 missions made the 3 of them stare blankly at them. What is this? Are you kidding me? Jilin was shocked. Looking at Bane, there was even a golden light in his eyes. I can't help it. I'm only a rank 2 iron adventurer. They don't let me take on difficult missions, but I've already picked these 2, Bane said helplessly. It'll be fine when we level up. With our abilities, it'll be very fast, Staya said. Jilin covered his head and sighed. He really didn't want to take on such an unlucky mission. It looked like a trivial mission, and he was too lazy to do it. But there was no other way. The mission could be failed, but it couldn't be returned. All right, Staya, you and I will go to the weapon shop. Aisha, you and Bane will find the little girl. Jilin decided to split up. He couldn't waste time on these 2 missions. It wasn't fun at all. Why is Miss Staya with you? Bane was unhappy. Human teenagers were so naive. A normal look from a girl could make him fall in love. A simple greeting could make him think that the girl had feelings for him. They were so naive that it was sad. It was so sad that it made people want to cry. Not to mention that Staya was like a god descending from the sky. She stood in front of him with holy light and saved his life in the nick of time. Aisha is a realist, and you are the only normal human among us. So you 2 won't be at a disadvantage when dealing with humans. If Staya went, I think Staya would agree to whatever the human said, Jilin answered patiently. Even at this moment, Bane couldn't find fault with Jilin. Jilin was right. Miss Staya was good at everything, but she was too nice. Usually, she would agree to everything. As for why Jilin didn't go, that was the right decision. Letting a creature that could kick a Class 8 magical beast to the point where it couldn't even stand up, get close to a human girl was indeed not a good idea. It was better to let him go and forge. Bane agreed with Jilin's decision. So everyone went back to their rooms to rest. They set off the next morning. Is anyone there? We are adventurers who accepted the mission and came to help. Jilin shouted as he knocked on the door of the weapon shop. The door opened, but there was no one in sight. Just as Jilin felt strange, a dissatisfied voice came from below. Such a skinny human and a human girl? Dan questioned. Our work here is very hard. If you don't meet the standards, I won't pay you. Don't worry. Crimson Lin took a steel sword from Staya and bent it with his bare hands while Dan was dumbfounded. Please come in. Hello, is Miss Gina here? We are adventurers who came to help. Bane also knocked on a black door. It was obviously a place where rich people lived. Hello, respected adventurers. You are finally here. Please come in. A young girl walked out of the door. She was wearing a beautiful white dress, but her skin was even whiter than the dress. Such a girl walking out of the black door gave people a sudden and stunning feeling. Bane's eyes lit up. The disappointment of leaving Miss Staya also disappeared. Human teenagers are not only sad, but also infuriating, Aisha thought. Chapter 16. Cough, cough. Aisha coughed heavily, reminding a certain someone that it was time to get down to business. You must be Miss Zena? Hello, we have accepted your request to come and help. Bane quickly changed the topic to cover up his gaffe. Yes, let's talk inside. Zena smiled softly and said in a low voice. Bane and Aisha followed Zena into the black door. After passing through a spacious courtyard and a long corridor, they arrived at the guest room of Zena's house. Yo, this sofa is not bad. Rich people really know how to enjoy life. Aisha unceremoniously occupied the best position facing the fireplace. She patted the delicately made leather sofa below her and spoke as if she was the owner of the house. I'm sorry about this. My companion has not seen much of the world. Please excuse me. Bane rubbed his hands and explained to Zena awkwardly. As soon as Aisha left Jilin's side, she immediately acted as if she was the boss. She was so arrogant. Who are you calling a person who has not seen much of the world? You are just a kid who grew up in a village. Aisha had dominated the mainland for more than 100 years. She could tolerate other things, but how could she tolerate being called a person who has not seen much of the world? Bane decided to learn from Miss Staya and ignore her. Anyway, he really couldn't beat her, so there was no harm in tolerating it. Could you please explain this mission in detail? Bane sat down on the right side of Aisha and said to Zena. Of course. Zena poured a cup of hot and fragrant black tea for Bane and Aisha. Then, she sat on the host's seat and said, This matter started from my grandfather. Zena started a standard long story. Bane immediately sat up straight and prepared to listen attentively. He was as serious as a primary school student who had just stood up and greeted the teacher and sat down for less than a minute. However, Aisha was of course not as sweet as him. She interrupted Zena without any hesitation. Can you get straight to the point? Our time is also very precious. That works too. To put it simply, I lost an ancestral dagger. It's very important. As for who stole it, I have some ideas in my heart, but I don't have any evidence. I need you to sneak into the suspect's house, find my dagger, and bring it back. I will give you a generous reward. Gina tilted her head and thought for a while before saying, I want to know who your suspect is, Bane said. Duke Lawrence, Grand Secretary Bei Luo, and Ambassador Yen Gang. Aisha frowned as soon as Chi Na finished her words. This mission was not simple. Judging from their names, they seemed to be very powerful people. Bane was a little hesitant. How could it be easy to sneak into the house of such a powerful person? Don't worry, these three spend most of their time in Wind Moon City. The residence here is just a property under their name. Although there are still people taking care of it, the degree of security isn't too high, Gina explained. Bane nodded lightly. If it was this kind of vacant house that usually didn't have an owner, no matter how powerful or rich the owner was, it shouldn't be too difficult to sneak in. But even so, Bane, who had just experienced a life-and-death situation, wasn't willing to take the risk. It was said that the top warriors of the human empires were all diamond level, and the Grand Secretary of the Wind Moon Empire could be said to be second only to one person and above tens of thousands. Other than the Emperor, there was no official higher than him. Duke was the highest rank in any country, and the Lawrence family was a hereditary duke since the founding of the country. As for Ambassador Yengang, although he didn't know who he was, to be able to stand side by side with these two people, he must not be simple. And he, Bane, was only an iron-level thief. If he were to wade into that level of quagmire, even if he had a few lives, he wouldn't be able to survive. Any bodyguard of low status would be able to kill him, and he wouldn't even have to say a word to his companions after he was killed. Just when Bane decided to point out that this mission was seriously inconsistent with the level of the posted mission and then reject it, Gina actually grasped Bane's hand. Her eyes were pitiful, and her voice was soft and weak, as if she was hugging the only log in the lake. She said with a pleading voice, "Respected adventurer, please help me. I really don't have any other way." Amazing. Aisha praised in her heart. Are all the little girls nowadays so amazing? If you don't have any other way, why don't you continue to post the mission and wait for others to come? Don't hold on to me, I'm just an iron-level thief. I'm not worthy of your attention. Bane complained in his heart, but he didn't know why he couldn't vent his anger in front of the pitiful Gina. Then he could only pretend as if nothing had happened and act as if nothing had happened. Of course, we're adventurers. Since we've accepted your mission, of course we'll do our best, Bane said hypocritically. After Bane said this, he glanced at Aisha and thought, we've been walking together for such a long time, you can't just watch me die, right? Aisha still had an enigmatic smile on her face and didn't say a word. Yes, thank you. I'm really lucky to have met an adventurer like you, Gina choked and said as if she was holding back the tears that were about to flow out with great difficulty. A little too much, Aisha felt that the young people nowadays were still lacking in maturity. It's worth it, Bane thought in his heart. Bane and Aisha didn't return to the hotel, but stayed in Gina's house. They would stay here until the end of the mission. Sister Aisha, do you think this is easy? Bane asked flatteringly. Yo, why are you so sweet all of a sudden? Aisha smiled meaningfully. During the journey before, Bane was obviously closer to Staya. Even a blind person could see the relationship between Staya and Aisha. It was a conflict from the body to the soul. Therefore, although Bane was very polite to Aisha, he still kept a certain distance. But now that their lives were at stake, how could he care about that? Although Bane was young, he still understood the simple logic of a man knowing when to yield. Isn't that what I should do? Sister Aisha is so smart, gentle, and kind. Of course, I have to ask for her advice when I'm in trouble. Even if it's a small matter, I don't need Sister's help, but it's still good to be able to talk to Sister more, right? Bane completely abandoned going offline for safety reasons. Too much, it's too rough, Aisha said with disdain. I didn't grasp it well. Bane lowered his head and admitted his mistake. Don't act pitiful in front of me. You were so powerful just now. You didn't even care about the top nobles in the empire. People say that men can give up their lives for beautiful women, but you? You just touched her hand and you don't want your life anymore? Do you have to? Can't you be more mature? After all, you're with me. I'm embarrassed. Aisha raised her thin eyebrows and mocked Bane. I'm not. Bane's ears turned red and stuttered. Plus, you're too scared. You don't dare to express your feelings. Why don't you use the method you used on me just now? Aisha was disappointed. It's not that easy, Bane said in a low voice. God knows how many young men were thinking about this sentence. Who didn't know that if you like someone, just say it. But it's not that easy. It's easy to say. Which young man who had the courage to confess didn't bet everything he had at that time? Looking at the girl he loved standing in front of him but didn't dare to look into her eyes, his heart was beating violently, uncontrollably. Even breathing became difficult because of nervousness, but he still had the courage to say the lines he had prepared in advance. Then, he would look forward to the result, heaven or hell, with the awareness of either success or death. The young man who confessed could be said to be tragic. Therefore, every true love was both moving and moving. How do you know it won't work if you don't try? You're willing to give up your life for her. Who can say that this isn't love? Listen to me, you have a big chance. You saw how Miss Gina wanted to marry you just now. She must have been moved by your courage. If there's a man who is willing to die for me, then I will definitely go with him. You have to think about it. You'll have a chance if you try. If you don't say it, then it's completely over, Aisha said excitedly. Plus, if you succeed, you'll earn a lot. If you fail, you won't lose anything. You don't want to do this kind of profitable business? It seemed to make some sense, but it also seemed to be wrong. Bane was already confused. Sister, let's see how this mission is going to be done. Bane decided to drag it out. Even I don't have the confidence to escape from this mission. If it's you, you'll definitely die. Aisha turned her face away and didn't even look at the mission. Sister, you have to save me. I'll definitely be your servant in the future to repay you. Bane moved closer to Aisha with a sad face. No, 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 you don't need to. Just promise me one thing. Aisha smiled slyly while flicking her nails. What is it? Tell me, I'll do my best. Bane patted his chest loudly, but he was very guilty. Aisha wasn't someone who was easy to get along with. It's simple. After it's done, you just have to confess to Gina. I'll protect you. Aisha smiled slyly. She was like a little fox who had succeeded in her plot, proudly wagging her little tail. Isn't this a bit too rushed? After all, we just met. Bane was helpless. He couldn't take the lead of the topic from Aisha. Don't you know love at first sight? That's true love. I don't know you, but I just like you. I don't know why. What kind of realm is that? Aisha encouraged Bane. Isn't that just lust at first sight? Aisha was finally choked by Bane. Are you done? Why are you such a coward? Are you still a man? If you continue to be like this, I won't care about you. You're on your own. Aisha threatened angrily. Don't, sister. I'll listen to you. I'll listen to you, okay? Hurry up and tell me what to do. Bane lowered his head in the face of a threat to his life. First, collect information first. Aisha glared at him. And then, Bane said. And then? Didn't I say we'll talk about it later? You're so stupid. Hurry up and get out. Aisha angrily drove Bane out of the room. The moment the door was closed, Aisha turned around and revealed a meaningful smile. A little girl actually dared to provoke the lion and show off in front of an expert. I have to teach you a lesson and let you learn something. Chapter 17. The next morning, Aisha and Bane went out separately to gather information. At first, Bane thought that it would be better for them to go together, but Aisha insisted that it would be more efficient to split up. This was very reasonable, so Bane could only grudgingly agree. But when Aisha told him the location of their mission, Bane started to suspect that Aisha insisted on splitting up to make it easier for her to slack off. The location she gave him was the local Adventurers Guild. There was no problem with this. Ever since the Adventurers Guild was implemented, the Adventurers Guild had become the place where information from all over the world gathered and circulated. Its content was very diverse and covered a wide area. It could be said that the mission one received at the Saimai Empire's Adventurers Guild was entrusted by a certain dignitary in the Kingdom of the Sacred Dragon. And recently, there was even a mysterious organization that specialized in selling information at the Adventurers Guild, Sky's Eye. For the time being, no one knew where they came from. People only knew that the information they bought from Sky's Eye had never been wrong. So Bane did not have any interest in the location of his mission. The problem was that the location Aisha chose for him was a traditional information exchange place that had a long history as the human race. The pub. Although it was also an excellent place to gather information, and according to Aisha, it was even better than the Adventurers Guild in some aspects, what made Bane uneasy was that it had a more fundamental use. To pass time. Ever since Bane met Aisha, he had never seen her take anything seriously or really care about anything, except when she quarreled with Staya. He could totally imagine the atmosphere when he was working hard to gather information at the Adventurers Guild. Aisha was sitting on a chair at the pub, sipping a strong liquor called Blue Sea. Perhaps she would even be hit on by a drunk man. Then she would not even have to pay for the liquor. When he returned from a busy day and wanted to talk to her about his findings, she would definitely pretend to be drunk and say that she drank today and was sleepy. They could talk about such trivial matters tomorrow. Sigh. At this thought, Bane could not help but sigh deeply. He felt that it was Jilin's biggest mistake to send Aisha to team up with him. Then I'll leave everything to you. Come back soon, I'll be waiting for you. The girl as white as snow gazed at Bane and said expectantly. This sounded like something a wife would say to her husband when he was about to leave. Bane thought wretchedly. Did she do it on purpose? Is this a hint to me? No, I must be thinking too much. What if it's not? Then should I take action now? In an instant, several ideas flashed through Bane's mind, and he even made a turn in the middle. The boy was always so hesitant and timid in front of beautiful girls. Gina's eyes were very big and bright. Against her snow-white skin, they were like two black gems lying in the snow. It was dazzling and instantly stole Bane's attention. Coupled with the occasional fluttering, it seemed even more magnificent than the stars. Under such a gaze, what else could Bane say? He could only walk towards the Adventurers' Guild with his head held high. Then, before he left, he confidently told Gina that this was not a big deal and that she could eat and sleep well at home without worrying about anything. Jilin actually thought that Bane would not lose out by communicating with the humans. He was about to put himself in danger. He was really letting down the great wisdom of the holy Megalosaurus. This would be a huge stain on his life that he would never be able to wash away. Aisha thought in exasperation. Jilin sat in front of a huge furnace and carefully controlled the temperature of the flames in the furnace. The entire workshop was illuminated in dark red by the flames. This reminded Jilin of the Red Dragon Palace that he had not returned to for a long time. Suddenly Jilin sneezed. This was very rare for Jilin. It was completely unexpected and caused him to lose control of the flames. The whole room was obviously brighter. Cracks appeared on the lava in an instant. Golden liquid flowed out from the cracks and covered the floor. Damn it, this is golden imperial stone. Such a precious material. Very few people have tried it in the history of the continent. How could it be wasted like this? Also, this is the 5th strengthened furnace. Mang Shan held his aching head with both hands and was a little mad. But there was a hint of excitement in his voice. I never thought that we would one day be worried because of the high temperature of the flames. It seems that the most important thing now is to make a strong enough furnace, Dan said with enthusiasm. This kind of opportunity was hard to come by for every dwarf. Jilin rubbed his nose and thought that this feeling was quite comfortable. Staya was also very helpless. At first, Mang Shan and Dan did not take them seriously, until they asked Jilin to control the temperature of the flames. Every time Jilin destroyed a furnace, their treatment would increase by a bit. Now, they did not have to work and were served well. If this furnace was destroyed again, they would probably be worshipped like ancestors. Bane sat at the middle table of the Adventurers' Guild. He ordered a cup of ale and lowered his head, trying to listen to some useful information. But soon he found that the atmosphere here was different. Everyone was talking in a low voice. It was not like before, when everyone was shouting loudly, as if they were competing to see who had the loudest voice. If they were tired of shouting, they would have a fight and exchange feelings. Bane thought for a moment and understood the reason. Because of the rise of the Sky's Eye, information became a commodity that could be sold. Naturally, no one would spread their information around the world. Maybe they could even sell it for a bit of money. Bane knew that he was going to have to pay a little money today. New things always kept up with the times in the early stages of development. The Adventurers' Guild was no exception. Aisha walked into the tavern alone. She was not wearing her century-old relic witch robe, or the white bishop robe given to her by the Church of Light. Instead, she was wearing a very close-fitting dress. As soon as she entered the tavern, the atmosphere of the whole tavern changed. All the men's eyes were focused on her. The women glanced at her and immediately turned to look at their male companions. Immediately, a few tables of customers paid their bills and left. All of them were women who left first, and then the men chased after them. The men could not help but look at Aisha again before running out of the tavern, so the women walked faster. Aisha was not moved at all. She walked calmly to the bar and ordered a cup of rainbow one. The layers of wine were clear, and the color of the wine was burning with fire. It was passionate and hot, just like Aisha at this time. Aisha sat on a chair at the bar and took a sip with a straw. Her upper body leaned forward, and her elbows and breasts rested on the bar. Her posture was concave and curvy. Then she slowly scanned the whole tavern with slightly hazy eyes. This was what it meant to have beautiful eyes and a charming smile. People suddenly talked loudly. Some said that they had killed some powerful magic beast, and some said that they had just bought a set of rare jewelry. All of them were showing off their feathers to attract Aisha's attention. As long as Aisha's eyes slightly looked at them for a while, they could logically go up and strike up a conversation. Hee. Aisha smiled proudly. Aisha knew that she would definitely get what she wanted today. Taverns had always been a good place for humans to communicate. Traditional things were always so unchanging. Taverns were naturally no exception. That evening, Gina's guest room. What did you get today? Bane raised his head and asked Aisha first. Looks like you got a lot of things? Then tell me first. Aisha naturally would not listen to him. If he told her to speak first, then she would not have any face. Bane had already expected this. He began to explain his gains to the two of them. Duke Lawrence is the hereditary Duke of the Wind Moon Empire. He has a high position, but ever since the Wind Moon Empire decided to establish diplomatic relations with the dwarves, the Lawrence family began to have conflicts with the royal family. They felt that the empire should have a more advantageous dominant position, and not trade equally with the dwarves like now. They felt that this decision caused the empire to lose a huge amount of benefits. There were many people who agreed with them. They united to protest against this policy. The people of the Wind Moon Empire called them the Left. However, all of the Left's actions were directly suppressed by the Emperor, who did not like to talk. Duke Lawrence also no longer had the Emperor's trust. Cabinet Secretary Bello was a new nobleman in the last few decades. His family was poor since childhood. If his experience was written into a book, then it should be an inspiring and inspirational work. Now his position in the kingdom could be said to be second only to the Emperor and above tens of thousands. The right faction group, led by him, had always been dedicated to protecting the dwarves' position. Their relationship with humans was deeply appreciated by the Emperor, but there were also a few extremists who called them traitors to humans. Finally, there is the Ambassador of Rock Steel. He is the most outstanding genius among the dwarves. He has invented countless practical technologies and machines, and is very important among the dwarves. It can be said that he is the bridge between humans and dwarves. Bane finished talking about the information he had obtained under Gina's attentive gaze, and looked at Aisha proudly. However, he did not tell anyone that in order to buy this information from Sky's Eye, he had spent a lot of his wealth. I heard that there have always been top-notch dwarven craftsmen who have gone missing. It is said that they were taken away by the god of dwarves and forging because he wants to forge a powerful weapon. He needs helpers. Once he uses this weapon, all the gods will retreat. There is nothing in the world that can stop him. However, there are also people who say that they were actually taken away by a mysterious organization to achieve some unspeakable goal. Aisha spoke about her information. What is this? Folklore? Bane did not understand. Aren't we discussing a serious matter right now? Aisha surprisingly did not refute. The words of a drunk man should indeed be doubted. Chapter 18. Miss Gina, what exactly is your dagger? Why would these three covet it? Bane saw that Aisha didn't speak, so he asked Gina. These three were all top-notch successful people. If it wasn't necessary, they definitely wouldn't resort to such underhanded methods like stealing. On the contrary, if they felt that it was necessary, the human nobles would definitely be more unscrupulous than anyone else. What exactly was it that made them put down their worthless reputation to steal something from a little girl? To be honest, I actually don't know. That dagger was said to be given to my grandfather by a dwarf. It was engraved with complicated patterns, but as a dagger, it wasn't sharp and actually didn't have any practical use. However, my grandfather once swore that the Roth family would protect this dagger for generations. I think there must be some deeper meaning. Gina said. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but is your grandfather still alive? Aisha suddenly asked. It doesn't matter. Grandfather has already passed away for a long time. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting across from you. Sorry. Gina shook her head slightly. Then, which of the 3 houses should we go to first to retrieve the mysterious dagger? I don't want to take the risk 3 times. Let's go to their houses once. Baines said. We don't know what that dagger is used for, but it definitely isn't used to cut anything. So all 3 of them are possible. Aisha said. Then what should we do? Draw straws to decide? Bain ridiculed. That seems possible. Sister, I'm just joking. Bain hurriedly admitted his mistake. According to the information I received, Yen Gang has been helping the Wind Moon Empire with some research in recent years. Grand Secretary Bei Luo also gained the Iron Blood King's trust and helped the Emperor to handle the country's affairs. These 2 shouldn't have the time to do such a small thing. Then, the biggest suspect is Duke Lawrence, who has nothing to do all these years. Aisha analyzed. Although Aisha seemed to be speaking with conviction, Bain didn't feel at ease at all. What Aisha said, the possibility of an accident happening was too high. Just because he didn't have time to spare, did he really not have time to spare? Why can't he stay at home all the time if he has nothing to do? This couldn't determine who was more suspicious, but it was the only speculation that could be made under the current circumstances. Bain didn't say anything because he didn't have any better ideas. Something was better than nothing. Well then, let's go to the Duke's mansion first, Bain said, resigned to his fate. Although he knew that if he didn't succeed, the news would definitely leak out and the other 2 families would be even more vigilant, he could only pray to the God of Light and hope that he could bet on that 1 in 3 chance. Bain thought that it would be great if Jilin was here. He wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. He could just barge in and take down the guards, take the items, and leave. How cool would that be? We're adventurers, not bandits. Although we're helping the owner find the lost item, it's still considered trespassing. Since we've found the item, it's fine. No one can say that we're in the wrong if we're caught red-handed. But if we can't find it, it'll be troublesome afterward. We can't let anyone find out who did it for the time being. Thinking about it this way, it seemed that he and Aisha were quite suitable to do this. Aisha could teleport and come and go without a trace. Furthermore, he was a thief, so this was simply his job. Could it be that this was actually the result of Jilin's careful thinking? Is there any way for us to find the item within a certain range? After all, the mansion is so big and there are so many rooms. No matter how arrogant a thief is, he can't ransack every room, right? We're not going to ransack the house, Aisha said. Bain nodded repeatedly. Yes, Gina said. What? Bain asked hurriedly. Me, Gina said. What? Bain didn't want to believe his ears. The direct descendants of the Roth family can feel its presence within a dozen meters, Gina said. Then haven't you walked around these 3 people's mansions? Aisha said. Of course I tried, but I couldn't find anything, Gina said. Wait a minute, I don't seem to understand what you mean. Are you saying that I have to bring you along when I go to the Duke's mansion at night? And then we have to walk around the Duke's mansion? Bain finally reacted and asked in disbelief. Bringing a young lady to the Duke's mansion to steal things? What kind of brainless idea was that? Was he trying to make things more difficult for himself? Don't underestimate a thief, okay? This is a job that requires skill. Yes. Gina lowered her head and agreed. She understood that this suggestion was indeed a little difficult. Impossible. Absolutely. Bain blurted out. Aisha lowered her head and held her forehead. The young man's wisdom must be a curve with ups and downs. Sometimes it was very high and sometimes it fell to the bottom. Aisha sighed. It was rare that Gina had such a convenient ability, but he didn't use it. Indeed, it was very dangerous to bring a girl to the Duke's mansion, but compared to strolling around room by room, It was definitely a more feasible method. She didn't believe that Bane didn't think of it, but Bane refused without hesitation for some reason. This is my request, and this thing is very important to me. If there is even a tiny possibility of increasing the success rate, I won't give it up. Moreover, it will definitely be easier for me to go with you. It was rare for Gina to insist on her own opinion without wavering. She looked straight into Bane's eyes and clearly expressed her firm determination. Bane looked at Gina and was stunned. In his impression, Gina was a beautiful young lady from a rich family. She was very polite to people, spoke softly, and was weak. She never refused people. The impression she gave to Bane was that she was weak and sickly, which always aroused his desire to protect her. Although Gina was actually very healthy, this was the first time Bane saw Gina's strong and independent side, which was equally radiant. Bane suddenly recalled the story of a legendary couple in the mainland. At that time, the two of them hadn't confirmed their relationship yet. The woman asked the man, "Well, if it was you, if you married someone and found out the hidden side of the other person, what would you think?" The man seemed to have the help of God as he replied, Most likely I would feel very lucky. Because, since you're married, it means that you've already fallen in love with the side you saw before. So, if you find out the new side, you can still fall in love with it. Isn't it just twice?" The woman was slightly stunned at first, then she smiled happily. Since it had come to this, there was no need to say more. Bane felt that he now completely understood the words of the Saint of Love. "Twice. I didn't expect you to be so agile. You don't look like a newbie at all." A thin human in a knight's suit bent over and whispered to his companion, who was similarly dressed. "Of course, I was very naughty when I was young. I always made my parents angry. Small things like climbing over walls are a piece of cake," Gina said proudly. "It's hard to imagine you being naughty. She should be very cute too." Ben didn't know why, but under such circumstances, he blurted out such a sentence. Maybe it was because it was late at night and the moonlight was too beautiful. It's okay. Gina didn't seem to be the slightest bit different as she said that. But if Bane could look at Gina directly, he would notice that Gina's snow-white ears were slightly red under the moonlight. But he couldn't, so he didn't see it. He breathed out a sigh of relief, but at the same time, he felt a little disappointed. Bane pulled himself together and looked around vigilantly. They were already inside the Duke's mansion. The walls of the Duke's mansion weren't high. A normal person could climb over it if they tried harder. But that didn't affect the meaning of its existence, because it had a magic circle that was responsible for security and defense. But this kind of thing couldn't stop Aisha at all. No matter how brilliant your magic circle was, could it be higher than the palace of the Saimai Empire? Back then, Aisha brought Jilin and directly teleported to the opposite side of the king. Bane brought Gina to the small forest at the corner of the Duke's mansion for a while, but no guards passed by. It seemed like Gina was right, the security wasn't very tight. It seemed like the success rate of this operation was quite high. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.